Not in that video, but it's specific to that computer, right? Like Stockfish plays something else in the opening, totally different style.
See.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. Okay, looks like sound's on and all that. Okay. Cool. So here we've got the 12 to 1400 group, and we're gonna do another practice session today. We're gonna get out and play. I'm gonna follow on this side Mr. Disco 99, and I'm gonna follow Selma Knight, and in my other one, I will follow Elfins and follow Shujaiza. Okay. Elfins and Mr. Disco, if you can log into live chess.
Just did it.
Cool. Okay. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I mean, pretty much we just need to start playing. Let's just check in real quick before we do that. This week, want to mention that Elfins reached 1400. So that was great. Congratulations, Elfins.
In Blitz and Rapid.
In Blitz and Rapid. First one in the class to graduate, so to speak. We'll keep you around for a couple weeks anyway.
I didn't realize it was for Rapid as well. Nice. Congrats.
I couldn't, couldn't just one dub wasn't enough.
Sure.
Yeah. Cool. So it's been a good week for him. Hopefully everybody else has had a pretty good week. How are you doing, Tilly?
I'm doing terrible with finals. Next week is going to be more chess.
You're in finals right now this week?
Yeah, I need to get all my schoolwork done for like yesterday.
Okay.
So,
but you're
that's
still
the mood.
here.
Yeah.
What do you have papers to write or exams or what or both?
Yeah, exactly. I have papers to write. So, but the yesterday thing was a joke. It's just I'm stressed about it.
Okay. Gosh, well, I sure did not enjoy having deadlines. Selma Knight, how's your week been?
It's been fine. I'm at a downward trend on Rapid, but still enjoying the study and upward trend on Blitz overall. But yeah, enjoying it.
Okay. Cool. Did you get your second book, or is it still in Houston?
No, I got it. They had to send a different one. Houston ate it, so they had to.
They had to resend it. There's De La
Yeah.
Bourdonnais versus McDonald. Nice. Perfect. And JB, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm maybe also getting into the book club that's going on with this.
yeah.
I put on hold. It's not available yet. I think someone's reading it, but I'm waiting to read the History of Chess book, just out of pure curiosity about it. And I have been playing a little bit teensy more than I have in the past few weeks, especially reviewing some of the King and Pawn endgames.
Nice.
And doing some of my puzzles in the Polgar book that I have. But this weekend is a long weekend here in Canada, and so I'm hoping to definitely take some time to play some chess because we'll be off work for a while.
Nice. Do you guys have like a National Syrup Day on Monday or what?
It's a good question. I don't know.
You
what
don't
it
even
is.
know what it
So
is.
we can say that it's National Zero.
You were just told there's a day off, and you said okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. I don't. Sorry. Do you know what it is?
Oh, I
Maybe.
didn't even know as a student that I had something off. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could also just be in Ontario. I don't know. I think
Could be
I just know
specific.
it's an off day.
Uh-huh.
In Quebec, we're taking off the curfew tomorrow, so that's nice.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That's
You have a
also
curfew?
celebration.
Yeah, we've had a curfew for the last 3-4 months, something like that. So it's a pretty big deal.
Wow.
A COVID curfew.
A
to be
COVID
specific.
curfew.
Yeah.
Yeah, things have been tight in Canada still. We're technically still on stay-at-home order here in Ontario for another 2 weeks.
Yikes.
So that's also fun.
Phew. Okay. Well, anything to work on today in your games, JB?
I'm going to honestly just focus on being confident with my moves. I think at this stage I'm regressing just because I'm completely lacking trust in what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm stressing out about things I shouldn't be stressing out. So I'm just gonna look to be playing and play what comes up, and if I lose, I lose, and if I win, I win.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good to me. I would agree with that. There's a danger, and I think like sometimes like my take about like playing a lot and not studying too much, I think sometimes like people are like, is he serious, or like half kidding to try, or like exaggerating to make a point. But I think with you, you've been learning so many things. It's confusing when you learn that many things. It's a lot to incorporate. So
Yeah.
And then the more things you have to think about, the more different ways you can second guess a move, right? Like if you're in some position and you're thinking of, putting your rook in the center, and then you're like, but wait, maybe in some structures I should like play this because they might trade eventually and I might come here, and you're like looking like further and further ahead and considering all kinds of different things. So sometimes it can be good to just play, let loose.
Yeah.
So, and not study too much. So
Yeah.
hopefully the king and pawn endings are fun anyway, whether or not.
Are fun. So that's my secondary goal, is just get to an end game.
Yeah.
It's not really a goal, but I'm starting to get that strategy. I'm starting to understand. So
Yeah. And definitely last week, like the clock and conference was the biggest problem. So it
Yeah.
makes sense
yeah.
always to work on that. Selma, anything that you feel like you need to work on this week?
So for today in particular, I'm gonna just try to focus on. I'm exhausted. I've been up since 5 a.m., so I'm just gonna try to reduce the amount of mistakes. But I guess overall, just playing consistently is what I'm gonna try to work on. Avoid huge blunders, avoid huge missing blunders from the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Just try to play simple and precise.
Okay. Cool. Elfins, what's your goal now that you've crested 1400? What are you looking to
1500.
do? 1500?
No, but I recently realized, after looking at a lot of Tal games very quickly, that I don't need to get a big advantage. And so for recently, it's been like trying to focus on like being okay with just a small advantage, or even like having maybe an equal position, and just like not trying too hard for a big advantage, and just saying, okay, my opponent's position has a weakness somewhere. Let's just do our best with that weakness, instead of like trying to force something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so far, looking for just a small advantage and being okay with it has been enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people will beat themselves more often than you will beat them. So if you just don't make mistakes, so to speak, I mean, which nobody can really do, but I mean, if you take some of that pressure off of yourself to like generate everything and just sort of be confident and comfortable with what you have, then a lot of times the games will come to you.
Yeah.
And Thierry, you're probably thinking about your exams, but just do your best to kind of like switch your attention from one thing to another. It's a cool skill to have, to be able to forget everything else you have to do for 1 hour and then go right back to it. I mean, that would be a really good accomplishment for today, period.
Nice.
All right, let's go. I've got you guys followed. When your games start, whatever time control you want, you can quit the audio, and we'll watch and cheer for you.
Thanks.
All right,
Good
let's
luck,
go.
everybody.
Good luck.
Good luck.
All right, here it goes. We're starting up. I'm going to close some of these.
Should we play this out? I got Thierry and I got matched up.
Oh, I see. You could just abort or whatever and then play someone else.
All right. Can I still abort? We can.
You should be able to.
All right, let's try this again.
Yeah, they're playing the pool, Drit. All right, this time she's got Jimp. And over here, we got Champion here. All right, E4 is sort of the most aggressive move when the opponent takes on C4. It allows black to try and counter your D-pawn with, most notably, E5. In theory, also C5, but E5 is a lot better, as it turns out. But here, black goes for C5. Now, in this case, pushing past with D5 should be quite nice for white, in my opinion, but I've never really studied it. That's just a guess. And at the same time, how can I scatter my view so I see both games? Okay, this is good. All right, so we've got a Caro-Kann. I think JB can probably take the pawn on D4 because I've basically never seen someone play bishop D3 in this position. Okay, Disco pushes past. Looks good. Elfins is playing rapid, not blitz. You can see him just over 1400. He's another 1400. Petrov defense. And against the Petrov, yeah, you have to be comfortable with a small advantage. Can't get too crazy. Black's probably already equalized, in fact, with that bishop trade bringing the queen up and the rooks coming out faster than white's. Whoa. What happened here was e6, takes, bishop, and knight. Okay. So now logically bishop f7 check would be the punish. Selma knight. Walking right into knight before there, I would say, with this move, right? So that's not going to be a very good opening for white. That knight on a6 got to trade for white's bishop. Black's got no weaknesses. Knight h5 is maybe overplaying it when bishop g4 would be so good, followed by e6, just simple moves. Goes for knight h5. Wow, so white just insisting on hanging this pawn on d4, trying to hang it a second time. JB declines it a second time, and we just get some trades coming off. F6 is one ugly move. Black's taken, you know, they could have had for free a good opening, but they weren't content, right? They weren't content with trading the knight for the bishop and bringing out their pieces. They had to chase down the second bishop, right? Even at the cost of f6, g5, right? g4, just abysmal. Self-mutilation by Black. Hey, guten Tag, Legion. Sorry, I wasn't watching chat carefully. I was just watching the games. Okay, now maybe I can see the chat as well. I got a lot up on my screens here. Full screen cams of the players. Couple chessboards, broadcasting software. Congratulations to the level of hell. Tell us about it. Okay, so JB's completed her development. She's slightly worse because of that doubled pawn, but not much. Something's happening here. It's the h7 pawn that's hanging. Knight d2, e5. If rook h7, e4, huh? Trapping the queen. Here as well. That e5 move is kind of working out at the moment for Black. So White just castles. Now on e4, he's got knight takes e4. Very clever from Selma. And this should be a decent chance to take the pawn on h7. In theory, you have to calculate e4, knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, second knight takes e4. But I'm sure that wins for White, so I wouldn't. I guess I would calculate it, but knowing that it's going to win for White makes it a lot easier to calculate, right? What's Black doing? Seth wonders. They're playing very aggressively. They're grabbing space with the pawns. If they can successfully keep Selma Knight's knights out of the center of the board, Black will eventually play bishop g7, bishop f5, and be winning here. If Selma Knight doesn't play very precisely, he can just straight up lose this position to Black's aggression. And so far, he's responded moderately passively to it, right? Like, when the opponent played g5, right? I mean, you could already consider sacking. Here you could, again, consider sacking to take this, but he decided to retreat, right? Now he could play something like e4 exploding the center, or go for a rook takes h7 followed by a knight sack. In fact, if pawn takes, queen takes, you win. So it would have to be rook here, check here, here. Yeah, that shouldn't work for White. Okay, so he couldn't do that. So he trades, castles, queen f6, f3, bishop f5. Yeah, at least f3 is fighting back. And bishop f5 walks right into e4. That's a very nice move, actually. In a kind of controlled way, but it looks like it's pretty good. He needs to continue, though, with the aggression. Right now, he's a little bit tied up because he can't take. Can't play queen e3, d4, probably. Huh. So he grabs that. Black and castle queenside. Huh. Tricky. How's Disco doing with this game? Bishop f7. Okay. He won a pawn. He's got the black king in dubious shape, but it's not going to be easy for him to finish the development while keeping c3 defended. This is definitely going to be tricky here. Black's got a lot of room to try and come up with something. And Black's finally thinking about their move, which is quite good for them. Same with JB's opponent, just ticking under 15 minutes finally. Back over. JB got the endgame. That was one of her big goals accomplished. It's tempting to sack the pawn to get the rook to the second rank here, but probably, again, just simple play is called for. You know, a6. Maybe rook e4, g5, trying to play f4. Yeah, certainly interesting. It's an aggressive take on it. White can play king f1 and stop it. The endgame should be better for white. So we'll see. I mean, she'll be happy to be in an endgame. Meanwhile, champion here develops the bishop, not worried about bringing the king out to e6, just getting the rooks to the open files and knowing that white's playing with only knight and bishop against queen, knight, and 2 bishops, and soon 2 rooks. So just happy to, you know, trade off the 1 or 2 of white's pieces and bring out more. Very, very dangerous spot for Mr. Disco. Maybe the move knight f3 is playable, because on knight f3, check queen f3 defends c3. Yeah. So knight f3 could be the next move for white here. Knight e2, trying to be safe by defending c3, actually fails, right? Because after black takes, then c3 is undefended. So we'll see. Selma Knight has tempoed, moved the queen, got d4'd. And for anyone who's wondering what black was doing, they have set up a beautiful, beautiful position for black, right? By depriving the knights of good squares, by taking space. Since Selma Knight didn't react with anything really aggressive, black has come out of this in a great position. Okay, and how's Elfins doing? Huh, the knight had to just retreat. That's too bad. This isn't going to work. He's not going to be able to make a kingside attack here. Rook g3 might not lose the knight, but it's looking pretty bad. Yeah, it looks like he tried to like aim for a kingside attack, but there was just no real way to do it. Rook a1, c5. Queen here. Maybe here knight c4 would be the logical move, right? Trying to use the e file the best you can. Knight c4 takes. Queen somewhere, rook e7, right? With pressure here and like this pawn and just making use of the rooks in the center. But by trying to like move things towards the king side, I mean, if you're not going to break through, then you're just misplacing your own pieces. He's going to need to move h3, I think. He might also look at knight d3, but that would probably be a big mistake. Like knight d3, c4, and then what do you do? Okay, he hangs a rook to queen takes rook, and that'll be GG. I mean, all he had to do was avoid back rank mate, right? Play h3. Was there any other threat from black? Just h3. Yeah, Xanth is super passive here. Getting stifled. Joshy's barely thought about the game yet. Yeah. Yeah, and that line with queen takes f2, white would have rook takes g5 check to win the queen, right? Joshy's play is not too dissimilar from the game we saw recently between Heim and Grandmaster Gawain Jones. It's very, very high aggression, and if you let yourself get pushed around, you end up with a very bad position. So, okay, so anyway, white, Elfins is losing this one very badly. JB has lost a pawn somewhere here. Played to force the f4 move, but king g2 and king f3 wins the pawn. Yeah. Nice defense by white, though she really did walk into it. And it looks like our team's getting more or less shut out in this first round. Let's see how Mr. Disco's doing. Knight f3 was good at least. Yes, yes, yes. Getting castled is very good. Queen check. You better take the h-pawn or play e5, winning a piece. You better have something in mind here. Better have something in mind. e5 looks like a good one. Otherwise, you're just chasing the king towards the king side with queen f5 check, right? The black king was on e6. I mean, if you're going to play a random check like this, it's got to be because you see some kind of a tactic, right? Otherwise, just develop a rook while the poor fellow's king is in the middle of the board. Push, push. You know, the point of the game is to win. So let's win a game. Salmonite. See, played queen f6 for a queen trade, took this pawn, lost the knight for nothing. That game is dead to us. This game here looks like JB is getting into worse and worse trouble with this white rook on a rampage. And Elfins, of course, still down a piece for nothing. So I would say Mr. Disco's our only hope to not go 0-4 this first round. Okay, Mr. Disco chose the pawn on b7, which was not worth much, but then developed the rook, which is pretty good. I mean, the crushing move would just be to play e5 at any point. It's so crushing. Now he's got mate in 3 available. That's the first move of it. Very good. Very good. Come on, Mr. Disco. You're our only hope. What? Elfins won by flagging down a bishop. I guess technically we got a point. Ugh. A
I
putrid.
earned that.
What's
I earned
that?
Every bit of that. I earned every bit of that.
When your opponent plays Queen E7 threatening back rank mate, you could just play H3.
27. Wait. 27. Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Just avoid the back rank mate because you were... Ooh!
Yeah, I didn't have to do anything.
Check
Spicy.
mate. Nice, Mr. Disco. Yeah, but what you did with rook e3, the opponent could just take it with their queen, right? And then you're down a rook.
Yeah. Well, down a piece, I guess.
Down a rook if queen takes rook.
Oh, yeah. Even worse. If I had just played h3, then I was in no danger.
Right.
I could have, because then, queen g7, and I could have just moved my knight, and that would have been fine.
Yeah. I mean, that said, you had no particular business like moving your pieces into weird spots on the king side where you were never going to checkmate at that stage of the game. But even if you're going to do that, there's no reason to, lose a rook. So, how's JB doing? A third pawn has bit the dust. Ouch. Every
How was
pawn.
that game, David?
Great. The only element that you didn't have was that you can push e4, e5 in a few cases, and it's really good. But really important was when you played knight f3 and got castled. That was really important. It seemed like the only really good way to do it. And rook d1 was quite a nice move too. So yeah.
I realized like one move after it was possible when I could play bishop takes f7 and take the queen, I think.
Yes, that's true. There was that in the opening. I'm glad you noticed. That's great.
I noticed one move late. That happens to me too often though. Like it's just one move later and it's not possible anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I'll play the next one.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks.
So Selma Knight playing a French. Mr. Disco gets white. Elfin's into game 2. Playing a what? A Sicilian where you just let the opponent play c3, d4. Ooh. White could really shut him down here with just trading and putting a pawn on e5 that blocks this bishop. There's almost no good way to play with that pawn structure for black after you get traded on e5, in my experience. Okay, threatening bishop f2, but of course white should castle. The Marshall Gambit, and black terrifiedly declines it with bishop e7. Ooh, JB got back. Resignation? Wait, what happened? Here. just hope that the pawn could outrun the rook. You guys see that? It's like maybe I can outrun him. Maybe I can. Oh no! Dang it! Oh, that's fun to see. That's another point for us. Yeah. The opponent had more than 15 minutes left at the end too. Yeah. All right, and JB goes back in for game 2. I'm sure it's still a draw, Dordum. Yeah. The opponent just was too depressed when they found out that their pawns were slower than rooks. They decided to throw in the I couldn't even understand what they had resigned about. I just depression, I imagine, right? Yeah, Seth, and you missed like this part here. This is my favorite thing I've seen in any game today, Seth. Watch this. Watch this. White's in this end game, right? Up a pawn in the rook end game. You know, could have been up more than one pawn if White had defended their pawns here. But, you know, anyway. They're up a pawn, and suddenly they're like, let's go, D-pawn! Maybe you can outrun the rook! Maybe you can outrun the rook! Oh, no. I just love it. I just love it. Actually, yeah. Oh, it's too good. It's too good. All right, so next game, back to the Caro for JB. What's going on here with Evan against Selma? Takes the pawn for free. That's a good call. F4. It's an interesting call. If the knight moves, White wants to win a pawn here. Maybe an exchange in the corner. So Selma trades. Oh, and now if the knight moves, White wants to play queen takes d4. Tricky, tricky. Now, Black's had a great move here, castling, attacking the queen, and saving the g-pawn. It's not an easy move to find, for sure. There's also queen h4 check, and if g3, you have knight f3 check, knight d4. So there's two really fancy moves possible here for Selma. We'll see if he notices that that's possible.
I think my opponent just didn't feel like playing. I wasn't that bad.
Sometimes it just gets too depressing when your opponent plays reasonable moves, you know? Just resigned right here.
Yeah, I'm like, I was like, wait, I thought he could have just like asked me to prove that I earned a pawn.
Yeah.
I just had to try.
Well, I mean, 2 weeks ago, Elfins, you were the one handing out unwarranted resignations, right? And now you're collecting them. It's a nice change, right?
Yeah. Is this how my opponents felt?
Probably.
Wow.
You resigned so fast some of those games, they were probably still sitting there like thinking like, can I do this thing? Can I do this thing? Then you resign and they're like, well, I guess maybe I could have. Or like the game against Selma from our very first night when I had you guys practice against each other, right? And you like resigned, but it was like a 6-move variation for him to win a piece that neither of you had seen. So yeah, that's what it's like. You can definitely
Doesn't
play
feel
it.
the best, but I gained some points.
You
So,
can definitely
it's
play a
alright.
third game.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get a
feel
third
it.
game.
So bishop f5, knight retreated, a3. So White's playing a very, very like punish me opening. And for the second game in a row, JB could just take the center pawn for free. So we got to tell her that these people are hanging that pawn. We got to let her know. Gotta let her know. Oh, Selma's deep in the tank. He knows it's an important move. Good Selma. Good Selma. All right. Well, they're bringing surprising points home so far. Came up with queen h4, knight f3. Come on, Selma. 3 minutes thinking about a move to play a good move. What a concept. won by resignation. Look at that. Another, like, random resignation, right? White could just move the king, knight takes, check, knight takes, right? And play out an endgame down one pawn. Instead, with opposite-colored bishops. Instead, just, whatever. You saw something I didn't see, I resign. Great. Just give us all your points. Give us all your points, you fragile, fragile opponents.
I missed something good.
Very nice. Very nice. 3 minutes to think and come up with a great move.
Thank you. I almost talked myself out of it.
Yeah. You had 2 good moves in that position. They were both super fancy, and you stopped at the right time and thought really hard. Because if you just played an obvious move, like moving your knight off of e5 somewhere, White could play queen takes g7, and the game would be anyone's game.
So I almost stopped it when I didn't calculate far enough to see that I'd be able to snatch his bishop up at the end, the light square bishop on b5.
Yeah, that your knight would be hitting the bishop.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So it talked me into it. Finally, I was like, oh, I got that extra move at the end. So.
Yeah. Good stuff. Let's see how Mr. Disco is doing. What? He's already won a second game?
Nice.
We barely even we didn't even get to see this game. What in the world? Let me put up the point.
What game?
Jeez, they're just giving it to us today. Okay. Pushing, right. Okay, Black's absolutely got to control f5 here or resign. Oh my god. Castle's right into h7 hanging. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, that was free.
Mon ami. That is all too free. Wow.
I didn't even remember what to do in the Marshall Gambit. Is that even a move?
I mean, there's nothing to remember. Bishop e7 is not anything that a GM has ever played. There are 0 GM games with this move.
Not just a GM. It's just it's a losing move right away.
I mean, not losing, but obviously bad.
It's not reacting to what's happening in the center at all.
Yeah. I mean, in response to it, you could play any move. Knight f3.
Yeah.
Bishop e3. e5. Trading an e5 like you played. But it's not just about one move. Your follow-up was good. You brought enough pieces. You aimed at the king side. Your opponent had to go for bishop f5 to try and deal with the bishop on d3. Ew. Ne mange pas le micro, hein? Okay. Black had to play bishop f5 or things were going to get bad, and then they got bad faster than expected.
I got some easy opponents.
What's that?
I got some easy opponents tonight.
Oh, we just lost a game. Let's see if we needed to lose this game. Knight, bishop, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Here, takes, here, and then he got disgusted. What happened with this opening? Oh, bishop e3 was pretty wretched, yeah. Wow. Well, at least he didn't resign the first time he hung his rook, and he gave his opponent a chance to, not take the rook. The knight could have just retreated, right? And there's no saving the rook, but instead the bishop came out and he saved the rook, but he didn't take his chance to say, like, hey, my opponent didn't capture the rook. I imagine I've got chances against this player. And this got trapped anyway. Plunged into a next game. Oh, we're getting that Neo Archangelsk kind of Rui thing that we've all learned recently. Is Puppuccino cold? We recently cut Puppuccino's hair really short. because it was really hot for a couple days, and then it got cold, so we put her sweater on. Hey, Hughes. What's up? Man, another random A3 move in this opening. Oh, she took the pawn. JB took the pawn, folks. Okay, she went for it. Nice to see that.
I'll try my hand at the blitz game, see what happens.
Okay, sure. And then, whoa, Elfin's position's looking amazing. Let's see. So here. Black has to really know what they're doing in this line, right? I feel like when we played this line as black, we played d6 here, threatening c5, c4, and sort of holding the square for the moment. And then only after f4, it got complicated. Here, black simply retreats. White simply retreats. Develop. Huge threat at knight d5. Black ignores it. Knight d5 comes in anyway. I guess knight e5 here for black would keep them in the game. We'll see if Dexter finds it. Dexter is taking their time, so we can say that for Dexter. Dexter's thinking about the move, so Dexter will be a tougher opponent here for Elfins. Meanwhile, we got Selma playing a blitz up there. Puts the rook opposite the king and queen. And white doesn't feel like any need to castle. Nice move from Selma. Very, very nice. Introducing f6 as a possibility. Now, white can at least draw the game, however, with bishop h7 and then queen h5, queen f7, etc. It was a nice idea to do this, but it doesn't quite work if white plays the best. Now he's going for f6. He really wants to win material. The only way out for white is queen h5, but white does not see it. If bishop takes f6 for Elfins here, then after knight takes queen, bishop takes queen, he's going to come out ahead a piece. Very good, Wrath of Gods. So bishop f6 still looks extremely strong for our friend here. Knight f8 for Selma Knight is the cleanest move here. Just defending h7, and the knight will still die on e5. Nothing else too good to do. I guess this move's okay too, actually. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, rook g7, and white has nothing and loses the second piece as well. So, yeah. Looks good, I guess. All right, Elfins puts in some work and plays bishop f6. That's correct. Selma Knight fe. That also technically is going to win material for black, but it's not the best way. Because now after pawn takes bishop, queen takes pawn, rook g7, there's queen e6, right? And you get checked, and there's a little bit of a mess going on. Oh, maybe this move is slick, though. Hang on. Could this move do it for us? It develops the pieces back towards the king. And he's already up one piece, and it'll be a second. And it'll be a second piece in a moment, too, most likely. Yeah, got the second piece. They are playing Random People Daster, yeah. And we're watching 2 of their games at a time. I bounce between them. Like over here, I've got JB playing, or Jus de Raisin playing, as well as Elfins. Speaking of which, this is pretty intense. What happened here? Here. H5. Overly aggressive and not quite working. And now the bishop on d6 is probably lost if white finds the best moves. Well, maybe not for sure. Let's see. Queen c5. If b4, queen c3. And if knight a4, queen a5, bishop d6, queen a4. I mean, it's bad. It's bad, but it doesn't straight up lose. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Selma Knight's only up one piece and getting attacked? What on earth happened here? Check. Oh, took with the knight, not the rook. Then came here, here, check. Oh my god. Oh. And white even had mate in 2 here, right? Rook takes, rook here. But oh, it's blitz. It's not rapid. There's like seconds each as they play this game out. So of course random stuff's gonna happen. Someone asking if Elfins can play h4, h5. He's played h4 and put a minute of thought into it. Now there's knight takes c7, but he goes for something much more blunderous. And then laughs at himself. What the heck? Come on, man. You were completely winning. What? And then you just resign. You're not allowed to resign.
I literally, like, I saw the x-ray too much. That's cool.
You can't just resign like that.
I have. Yeah, no, that one's. Well, oh no, there's a double check, but it's. I don't.
Take one of these pawns, take a rook, keep playing.
I literally, like, imagined the x-ray was there, and it kind of was, but I think I had to make more moves before I could just.
I mean, every knight move threatening queen g6 was winning in that position, right? Knight f4, knight c7, winning a rook as well as threatening queen g6. Yes. Selma Knight wins on time, still has some extra material left as well.
Yes, but yeah, it was. Yeah, everything actually. Yeah, I guess knight c7 was maybe the best.
Yeah,
knight c7
most likely. It wins like so much material.
Yeah. I don't know. I was like imagining that my bishop was already pinning the pawn, and it's like my knight does have to actually move.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Actually, if I look at your position again for 1 second, another good move would be like knight e3 to f5, like retreating the knight and bringing it to f5 while attacking the knight on g6. But nothing's going to be better than knight c7 and taking a rook. I mean,
was h4 fine? Like, was h4?
Oh, h4 like, was good. Yeah.
H4 was. I don't know. I just.
Seeing as it wins the game, it was very good.
I got so excited. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Needed to take a chill pill.
It was getting excited. Let's see if JB has extricated her piece. Yes, she's avoided losing a piece. Okay, great. Rook d1 had to trade right away, did trade right away. Now this move. Now the queen can just run away anywhere you like.
Has everyone else been winning their games as well?
I think Thierry went 2-0. And Selma Knight went 2-1, I think. And Jus de Raisin is 1-0 so far. So actually we're doing pretty well tonight. Pretty well.
Good stuff.
Now we can all watch what's that?
So I got stomped my first game. It was
yeah. That first game, the opponent played very aggressively, and you didn't find a chance to like fight back and get space for your knights. So they just sort of got pushed out of space, and then the bishops were much, much better than them. Queen b6, that's the best move there for JB. Now she could play knight bd7 or queen takes b2.
Queen takes b2. That's like one of the oldest questions in chess, right? Is that a... Should I take it or should I not take it? I came up in the La Bourdonnaise game I was doing. It was like a...
Uh-huh. Yeah, they were at the forefront of such discussions.
To b pawn or not to b pawn?
Mm-hmm.
David, in my last game, what did you think of f4? Was it a mistake? Should I have played that or went for something else?
Oh, good question. Good question. Looking at it, I would probably prioritize the move bishop d3 first, because it's a developing move that I'm certain to play. I'm very likely to play f4 next move. Very, very likely. But if I play bishop d3, there might be one or two moves from the opponent where I sort of change my mind and do something else. Because to me, the key square to contest on this entire board right now is f5. The worst thing that could happen to you would be you play f4 but don't manage to play f5. Like you play f4 and then suddenly your opponent plays, I don't know, g6, knight h6, and you just can't move that pawn again, and then your bishop on c1 is blocked in. So if you play bishop d3, I mean, for example, it doesn't allow knight h6 right away.
Yeah, I saw
Right?
that.
Because your bishop could still take it. If you play bishop d3 and your opponent plays g6, then you could choose not to play f4. Because like g6, I mean, what f4 doesn't look like it's going to get through. Your bishop's already well developed, so bishop d3, g6. You could then choose to just play knight f3 and play into the weak dark squares. You could play h4. Is going to be better than f4 in that position. With the idea of h5 developing your rook, if the opponent plays h5, you use the h4 pawn to play bishop g5. Trade their dark square bishop,
basically
put
just
your
a
knights.
bit too early.
And
What was the point of like f4 knight h6?
why would black play knight h6?
Yeah,
To control the f5 square.
yeah, okay.
And f4 blocks the c1 bishop, so they can play knight h6, and you don't have the option of trading it and then playing f5 anyway.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. Good joke, Wrath of Gods, even though we're gonna keep it modded for the moment. Okay, so we got JB's position. She chose to just get castled and then bring out the knight and not grab that b pawn. So now there's a little concern over the h5 pawn, but I'm glad that she preferred castling to leaving her king in the center. Some people get overly worried about like, oh, there's like a weakness, but I mean, you can't just leave the king on e8. It's going to be a lot worse. So castling kingside or queenside was kind of like the option. And I was thinking knight bd7 partly to, again, get more information about what white does before you castle kingside or queenside, or let white spend one more move where they don't yet know where your king is, so they can't start attacking it right away. White being down a pawn, I'm expecting them to try and attack her king wherever she puts it. Well, I don't know, that may be too much to expect of Kevy, but, you know, I mean, that's what I would generally expect.
G4? Why? The G4?
To attack the king. To attack the king. Kevy's got to do something. That's very impressive. Got to do something because they're down a pawn. So with this move, some pressure. Some pressure. That's good. That's good. It's going to make JB sweat and test her confidence, which was her goal today, was to be confident. So tricky to be confident when the opponent, throws everything at you. So she defends the knight on d7 so that on g5 this knight can run away. But I think in general, the plan should be to trade this knight for the bishop on e4, right? Because if the knight retreats to like e8 or h7, it's going to be a very, very bad knight. So you might as well just plan to take on e4. Probably in any case, the best plan for her is to put rooks on the d file and try and get some pieces off the board there. Contest the fully open file. Okay. So white grabs the pawn on h5. The knight could recapture it. It's actually quite good to recapture it with the knight. And then bring the second knight to f6 and keep the knight on h5. It may not be obvious that the knight's going to be good on the h5 square, but it will be. It will be, because white's got no g-pawn to chase it, right? And white's got no g-pawn to cover the f4 square, which ultimately is a very, very nice-looking square for the knight, right? No g-pawn or e-pawn to kick it there. It would block the f-pawn. It would attack. Fantastic squares. The best possible square on the board for the knight is f4. So what you do is you bring your knight to h5, you defend it with the other knight coming to f6, and then you let it just hang out on h5 till it gets a chance to come into f4. Little bit low on time here, huh? 3 minutes. It's a huge decision, I guess, to leave the knight on a bad square like h5. Would you guys be worried or concerned to leave your knight there? Would you be like hustling it back to f6?
I would just feel like after bishop f3, my knights would be like stranded and tied to each other. That's like my only concern.
Yeah, bishop f3, she's going to have to play g6 to support it.
Yeah, and like that makes my king like all kinds of open.
Yeah. But it's good.
I guess their king's open too, though.
Yeah. White's king's more open. And what black's going to do is just play rook takes d1, rook to d8. Eventually, when all the rooks are gone, the queen can come into the center of the board, and black can get the knight to f4. With a queen on d6, or a pawn on e5, or a queen on c7 or d4. She just has to find g6 here.
Like,
if she
I
doesn't,
don't think she's in danger. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah. If she didn't see bishop f3 coming, it's going to be like an unpleasant surprise. It's going to attack her confidence and her clock. Yeah, she didn't plan on it. That's rough. But at least we can tell her later that her instincts were the best to go for this.
Maybe she has Discord notifications on. Tell her that she's in no danger.
I can't help her. I can't interfere during a game.
Don't do that. We won't do that.
It's on her.
Is g6 the only move? Is that?
Yeah, g6 is the only move. I mean, rook takes d1, g6 doesn't lose, but it doesn't help either. I mean, g6 is better first and sort of the only move.
Yeah, she would rather not take on d1 because she doesn't want to give up the file for no reason.
I'm not sure, Drit.
Oh no, minute and a half left.
Yeah, there goes all the time. That's too bad.
Oh, maybe she was thinking G6 hung the knight. I don't know.
So this one's tough. Options here are like a5, f6, rook d4. Rook d4 would lose pretty badly to queen e5, but you force white to find that move. So it's just a question of when you want to take a risk. Once you're down a knight, you may have to take a couple risks. You know, allow some winning moves to your opponent since they're winning. But you can also try and hold tight as long as possible and give them more chances to make mistakes. The knight recaptured on d1, not the rook. That was very odd from white. But not terrible. I mean, the knight's obviously better the closer it is to the king side. Just an unusual choice. I mean, people usually would prioritize grabbing a file to finding a fancy knight improving maneuver. There goes the e-pawn. That's good technique by Kevy. Good technique. I think we may lose the last game of the day, though not to give up yet. All right, go for an endgame. You wanted to play endgames. Go for the endgame.
That's right.
If you're ever playing somebody you notice they're really good at the middle game, it is an option to go into an end game, even down like quite a bit of material at your guys' rating. And sometimes it'll just be night and day. You know, somebody who can play one just won't be able to play the other. You can have like a 500 point or more difference in strength between the middle game and the end game that some people play. I mean, some people will be better in the end game as well, right? But I mean, if you're playing somebody 1100 and they're really good in the middle game, the odds are pretty low that they're also really good in the end game. I mean, it's like...
That's probably me. I wonder what's my gap between middle game and end game.
Mm-hmm.
Probably big.
And losing your end game, that's suffering. Like when you make that fatal mistake in the end game, and you still know you got like 10 minutes or left or something. Man, that's a brutal feeling.
Mm-hmm. Nice sciences. That sounds like 100% reason for us to all follow your games and study them and try and learn from you. Okay, that's cool, Elfins.
David, did you ever look at the book? I think it's called The Complete Chess Swindler.
The Complete Chess Swindler?
Yeah, or something like that.
Like trying to like win with like traps from bad positions?
Yeah, not necessarily traps, but yes, it's a book about swindles in chess. It always gets recommended, and I keep thinking about it when I see like positions like that where like you just need something
Yeah, I've
kind
never
of
read that book.
abnormal to win.
Yeah, I mean,
Come on, Kevin.
if we didn't know that that Jus de Raisin struggles with her own clock, the fact that she's down on time would actually increase her chances of getting a swindle here, because a lot of times when like somebody playing white will be like, "Oh, my opponent's got 30 seconds. Let me just like try and flag them." You know, you've got like an extra knight and a pawn, and they're just like, "I'm just gonna play some fast moves and try and flag this person." You know, so
Remember
I
that
would
night.
say one devious swindling technique you all can use would be, if you ever like down a knight against somebody like this, you could run your own clock down a bit low and see if they just, and then start playing fast, you know, and see if they just start blitzing with you, trying to flag you.
Man, his king is ridiculously safe considering the G-pawn's gone.
Yeah, that's because black lacks pieces. There's this thing that like if somebody has no like pieces or no active pieces, like you can have all the weaknesses you want and they don't matter, right? Like a weakness is only a weakness if it can be attacked, is one sort of saying.
Easy to defend yourself from nothing.
Yeah. And she got her pieces kind of forced out of the center, so they're off on the queen side, so the white king's very safe. But what she wants to do is just, you know, hang around and wait for white to mess something up. Which is not happening so far. Knight on g4 is quite nice. Defends f2, lets the rook come out.
I mean, I feel like they can just flag her by going for checks.
Checks force you to just move your king somewhere. It keeps you from flagging. And the whole idea of trying to flag her is like totally wrong. I mean, if you're white, what you want to do is, you know, centralize your queen, centralize your rook, spend like 10 seconds or 20 seconds on every single move.
Yeah, I think it would take him longer to flag her than it just made, because there's like a 10-second increment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he would spend like 2 minutes trying to flag.
Yeah. Right, a queen trade could be played here by white, but you know, they want to consider it pretty seriously. Queen e5, knight e5, rook c3. Black picks up another pawn, and you know, the game goes on. See, queen g5, she just has to move her king. Rook d1 is a very strong move. That would checkmate. Rook e1 probably also checkmates pretty quickly. But rook d1, there's no rook d2 to stop it because the queen's covering there. Queen e5 is great. I would go for checkmate here as white, by the way. For what it's worth, I wouldn't go for queen e5 trading queens into the knight up endgame. Because I just think of like, our advantage is a knight, right? So what's a knight good at doing? Better at checkmating a king than winning an endgame. So, you know, if I've got any confidence in my own ability to calculate, then I've got no reason to play a move like queen e5 and trade into an endgame that's actually going to be harder to win than a middle game. Here the threat is queen e7, queen e8, queen h5, and then rook e8. So rook e2 is basically forced to stop that. And she does it. And she already knows she offered a queen trade once while down a knight, and white avoided it, right? So she already knows that this opponent doesn't really want to play an endgame, no matter how good the endgame might be objectively. So, useful information can be used against the opponent. Rook d1 would have been still checkmate for white, but white didn't find it that time. Now we'll see what happens. Black queen is re-centralized.
Kevy's getting down on time too now.
Yeah, her time is the same as before. White's time has gone down quite a bit. She should not trade the last piece, though, right? Then there's almost nothing left to trick white with. She tries it.
All right.
Let's hope this player thinks that their h-pawn can't be caught like her first opponent, right? Just h5, h6 while the c-pawn keeps going. No, this player uses all their pieces now. It's pretty hopeless.
He's gonna blunder. 2 minutes. He's gonna blunder. I can feel it.
Really? It's hard to imagine how to blunder this fairly straightforward position.
I think he could just put the knight on c2, and then he has no blunders to make.
Yeah. Or bring the king to the c file. All right, the Mechanics Chess Club is here, folks. There's a link so you can follow them. A-pawn, huh? White gives the A-pawn, but takes the A-pawn, right? White giveth and white taketh. Not what you would call impeccable technique, perhaps. What? I think Kevy's got a good enough idea of what they're up to that they'll win this now. All right. That's good. So, JB, it's a good game. You
Sorry
didn't.
it took so. I wanted to chat at some point because I know people are waiting to come in. Like when I take a long time.
That's fine.
If we need to like cut, we can cut away next
That's
time
fine.
because I feel bad that I'm so late.
That's all right. They haven't complained yet, but if they do, we'll do that. So the one thing I want you to know is that you were right to play knight h5 and knight f6. You were right to put the knight off on h5. You just didn't find the move g6 to defend it, but you were actually playing the very best possible way to play that position for black.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was really, really good when you brought those knights to the king side. I know it didn't work out this game, but it's good to know that your instinct was right. The knight on d7 was just kind of awkward, right? It was blocking your own rook. You wanted to bring rooks to the d file. It didn't really have anywhere great to go. So knight h5 and then bringing the knight on d7 to f6 to back it up, that was perfect. That was the best way to play. And if you play g6 to support the knight on h5, you'll go on to win the game just off of having placed your knights that well.
Yeah. I forgot that it was attacked twice. I started running out of time and I was telling myself to like move.
Yep.
but-
Yeah, which you did have to do. I mean, you got down to 30 seconds. You couldn't have played much slower than that, right? You did have to move at that point. So that's okay. All right. Good work. Good work, team. You guys overall today won 3 more games than you lost. So that's a nice score. I'll see you again on Thursday for a lesson, and I'm going to bring the other guys in now for their session.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Okay. 14 to 1600. Let's just change the titles while we're at it. All right. Everybody's ready to rumble.
Morning.
Hey, what's going on?
Good morning. All right.
I guess I do have a camera too. Hi.
Hello.
What's up? Wait, no. There we go. Now it's live. It does this like freeze frame thing where it'll like get a picture and then not do the video. So it'll like have a saved frame of like whenever like the video starts and then just not actually record. It's kind of strange.
Yes.
Well, you'll have to get even more professional gear at some point as you become a bigger and bigger streamer.
Yeah, I've been streaming some of my book stuff, but I feel like it's not as exciting as just planes. I think I'll do more of that in the future.
I mean, the thing with streaming is you just got to do what you want to do for you. You can't worry about too much about what's going to be entertaining for somebody else.
I just get so stuck on like going back and forth on lines and looking back and forth between the book and that. It's like I don't have time to focus on anything else. It's weird. But yeah, I guess there is a balance. Find eventually.
All right, I fixed pretty much everything here so that we'd be ready to go. How are things going for you guys this week? Seth?
Okay. Like chess-wise?
Mm-hmm. Or, if you want to tell us about something in your personal life, you can do that too.
Yeah, personal life's just like hard and boring, I guess. No, chess is going. I think it's going okay actually. I lost my classical game. You watched it over the weekend, and that was disappointing. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. My play in that too much. So I know. I mean, I watched your comments. Like, like, why are you taking all of his pawns? And so I don't know. That's what I focus more on are those. I feel like my rapid games are like, I think my rank dipped a little bit and bounced back. I actually think I'm playing those pretty well, all things considered. I think just a couple off results, but I think I'm on the trending up there. So, but I like to play better in the classical game than I did, but I don't know. But it was also like not terrible after that. I like defended into a probably winning end game and then lost out. And then like other stuff, Kasparov Karpov is fun and I haven't gotten as much time for like study as I would normally hope because of regular life. But I've still managed to go through a few more Falk games and do the calculation thing.
Nice. So how's Falk doing this week?
I'm doing okay, I guess.
Oh, I thought Seth would answer, but sure, you can.
Yeah, he dipped He was above 1600 and then he came back
Oh, yeah.
down a little, but yeah, he seems to be doing pretty good.
Just loving that E4, right, Falk?
Yeah, it's exciting, but only
Yeah.
if I get E5 or C5.
Okay. So not yet.
Otherwise, I just lose. Yeah.
You don't yet have your groove against the French or the Caro.
Yeah, against the French, the Petrov, the Caro-Kann, and
How are you
that's
against?
about it.
How are you against
You
H5?
want- I can just show you what I play, and you can just like see if you like it, and I can show you some like quick ideas. Obviously, like this isn't looking through Grandmaster games.
I
But,
think
like-
Falk is allowed to look at Grandmaster games now, right, Falk?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean, I
like, studying a bit, but
a bunch of
it's
stuff against all of them, and then like figured out what I like playing. But anyways, sometimes it maybe can be helpful someone about at your rating.
I think the issue just is that I don't encounter them often enough in game. So, like, I looked at like a few Petrov lines, and I already forgot them when I had to play the game again.
This is what
But,
I always do to simplify things, especially when I first started trying to learn opening. I did exchange French and exchange Caro, just because like you don't really need to know much. You just have to understand what good and bad pieces are. And
Okay.
then for what was the other one you just said?
The Petrov.
Petrov, I play knight c3 and transpose into a 4 knights game.
Okay, I was going to play D5, and then like see what happens.
But Falk, what lines did you forget? Like, where did you have lines from to even forget them?
Well, I looked at ChessBase,
Uh-huh.
and there's like the reference, so I can like see what's most played.
Okay, so
like-
you'd seen some moves that were most played, but you couldn't remember what they were.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean it's only for the Petrov, so I was looking at like D5, and then I couldn't like the first game already. I couldn't remember what happens after knight takes E4.
Mm-hmm.
If it was supposed to be captured with a pawn or the knight, and yeah.
Have you tried?
But
knight
I
takes?
only played like one game against it.
Yeah.
You gotta go knight takes F7, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go knight e5, d6, knight f7. That's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dripman, how's your week going?
Fine. I feel
No.
like I don't have much of many thoughts to report. I
Okay,
just,
that's fine.
Chess, and I'm doing chess.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll just say you're looking good, and we'll move on to Clark.
Well, I won my classical game in a Petrov, so that worked
Knight
out.
F7.
No, knight F3. It was. I considered it. I sat there for a minute. Was like, "Am I gonna do it?" No. So I backed up. I'll play it more in the rapids, but I don't know if I feel good about sacking a knight in a classical yet. That's
It's
just-
not sacking a knight. You get 2 pawns and the center.
It's a gambit, a knight gambit. I guess.
It's a gambit.
you call it. Yeah.
But would you be that afraid to sack a pawn?
No.
Okay.
I mean, value is different. I don't know. Just I'm not confident enough that I could sit in the classical and just sit there and just be happy with not having a knight. I think that's part of it. Like just staring at. I mean, I can start to see how that might work, but
Well, I've played knight f7 in classical chess in FIDE rated
Yep.
play, so there's
fair enough.
Yeah,
there's no amount of time that's gonna allow your opponent to like just refute your opening because the opening's good. So
Okay,
yeah.
fair enough.
Oh, I
David.
did win my classical game this week.
yeah.
That's great.
Nice.
And then
Really nice. Now
I've also-
now I'm bummed.
I'm also back to hopefully making us
Uh-oh.
a majority in the 1400. I'm not there yet, but my rating's been steadily climbing back
It's
from
coming
from its valley.
Nice.
So that's comforting.
Yeah.
And I'm about 15 games through already in the book. So
Wait,
that's
you're
good.
where in the book?
about 15 games through. I'm finishing up the Roy Lopez at the moment.
Okay, great.
So
Nice.
Sounds good. All right. Well, you guys ready to get out there and collect some points?
sure, are we doing any kind of specific time control or whatever we feel like?
Whatever you feel like is good by me.
All right,
Okay.
Yeah.
dive right in.
Falk basically hasn't stopped smiling since he started playing 1e4.
So
It's definitely more enjoyable.
Getting past those angsty 1d4 teenage years that everyone goes through.
Please. Yeah.
Hilarious. And hey, Steve Nash, I hope you're doing good. I think I saw an alert like you had a lesson,
Yeah.
one of those 100K redeem lessons with Kostya. I hope that was good. I hope it was worth all the hours you watched the dojo beforehand.
Yeah, it said the alert on my phone said lesson with Steve Nash, and I was just
Yeah.
like,
You're like, wow, Kostya's doing like big time collabs now.
yeah, whoa, I didn't know there was another Pog Champs and like they were getting NBA stars.
Yeah.
All right. All right, I'm gonna leave the audio and play chess now.
All right.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, Falk got matched against Nargave. That's Morphe fan for the couple people who don't know. Oh, man. Nargave ran from us. I can't follow Nordovik. Why not? All right, I got Dripman up. All right, Kevin McMaven. Great. Giannis. And it looks like Nordovik is playing, but I just can't. Oh, wait. Maybe he changed. Maybe it's, sorry. Clark DH, maybe. There we go. There's the game. He's like already doing stuff like this at the. Oh, God. Oh! we were better off when we couldn't see. Knight c3, queen check. An abysmal move. A move that's bad enough to heap further dishonor on an opening that's already not that good. So in case anyone doesn't know, in this position, you should block with your bishop or your knight, not your queen, because this queen here, you're going to get to attack it again, so you don't want to trade queens. This is probably best. Then on bishop g4, you have to play d4, because knight f3, bishop takes knight, doesn't chase the queen properly. White brings out the queen for some reason, with the mission already accomplished by the bishop, lines up their own queen with the bishop. I mean, I'm sure white will figure it out and win, but that was certainly not helpful. But let's get off of this game and watch another one. Oh, good lord. All right, Dripman playing the Scotch. That's one of his repertoire openings. It feels like in this position you could just castle, right? And then the c-pawn would be defending the knight. I don't know if this is necessary. I don't know that it's bad either, but I mean, if you've got a choice, I feel like I would usually just castle probably, but he probably knows more about it than me. Falk successfully navigates this to get a nice development lead here. That's right, Thierry. It's really, really intense for me to watch you guys play, actually. I mean, the stress is everywhere. It's in my breathing. It's in my legs. It's in my neck. No kidding. Daster thought of a joke. That's a shock. Okay, so now castles. I mean, F45 or just develop some more first. You've just invented this joke, Daster? A porpoise. No, I don't need stress balls. I just need to avoid stress. I need to not watch these games. All right, Falk. Take it. Take it. Tell me you played b4 planning to sack the rook. Knight c3, e5. This opening here looks kind of bad from Seth, like you'd rather just move your pawn back. But apparently it's not really the end of the world. You can put your bishop here and fight still for control of the central square well enough. There's not like an obvious... There's not an overwhelming advantage for white. There's an obvious small edge for white. Nothing overwhelming. Knight e4, getting out of the way of the c-pawn, hopefully. Dritman develops and then sits there thinking. Normally the bishop would be on c5 in this position. There's like a really mainline position that looks like that. Oh, and Black would have one other move. Yeah, so this opening is very good for Dritman right now. And Falk has lost a pawn sort of for nothing, but since Black castled queenside anyway, he can put a rook on the b file and get reasonable compensation, right? More logical for Black would be bishop e7 here, then knight f6, and try and castle kingside. If you're the one up a pawn, you want to simplify things. You want to castle on the same side as your opponent, reduce the drama, reduce the intensity, you know? They are, Bob Dole, yeah. Just random opponents. Okay, so here. Queen threatens checkmate. Not pleasant. But no big deal either. I don't know, Rengao. I teach a lot of new players, and I don't feel like I teach them to not sacrifice. I want to play d5 for white. Wow, G3. Definitely creating some weaknesses. Definitely some weaknesses. All right, so things are not starting out well for us. F5 is a good response from black here. How's Seth doing? We had H3, trade, develop. And yeah, Seth seems to sort of know what he's doing here. Pretty solid position. Whoa. Looks like made in 1 or 2 here. Wah, wah.
I haven't lost a queen that early in a long time, so I guess I was overdue. That's fine.
Good, but at some point you'll stop being due at all. I mean, I still make mistakes at times, but there are some mistakes that you'll just never make again, period, at some point, right? Like, you can actually, like, get to a point where certain mistakes just don't happen anymore.
Yeah.
That'll come.
Yeah. I felt like I fought well for a pretty long time, and it took him forever to get any kind of development with those rooks. So I felt like I was almost playing like an even game for a little bit. You know, if I maybe
now, you know,
if I could get any kind of initiative with the development I had, but it didn't quite pan out.
Now, you know, putting your queen on d5 on move 4 is just simply a bad move.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the reason you played e6 on move 2 was so that if white takes your pawn on d5, you can recapture with the pawn and maintain a presence in the center from your pawn. If you're going to take on d5 with your queen, you're better off not even playing e6, because that just blocks in the c8 bishop, right? The point of e6 is certainly to take on d5 with the pawn, partly because the queen there is terrible, as shown by your opponent then attacking it with knight c3. There's nothing good to do. Although queen c6 is definitely even worse than some other options, but everything's bad at that point.
Yep.
So, yeah. That queen was just very, very easy for white to attack.
Have a field day with.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Giannis hasn't had to, like, stop and think yet, unfortunately, for us. D5 here, threatening bishop takes g7 is a thought. Probably a decent thought. How much would you pay for a video course from David? Less than $10. I don't know what the video course is about. But trust me, I won't be recording any video courses for less than $10. In my mind, a video course is a whole series of videos on a subject. I mean, it would definitely have to be at least $100 per video. So a series would have to be a lot of money. How to rap? I thought it was about chess, but it's true, it doesn't specify that. Yeah, if I made a video about how to rap, you should definitely not pay for that video. Nor even watch it. Nor even watch it. Nor even watch it. Be a complete waste of your time. All right, Falk tries d5. This move's quite interesting. 5-hour video about it. I'm sure that my videos, Rangao, on the subject would be long and unwieldy and attemptedly didactic, despite not having any mastery of the subject. All right. Anyway, back to chess. Let's see what we're doing. That doesn't seem very good. Oh, in fact, it's not very good. This move is playable already. Some other move gets played instead, which is kind of weird and random, but actually it also looks really good. Yeah, Dritman's knight f3 move. This move was really bad. But he spent a long time here coming up with a plan. Played queen e2 here and just didn't really actually have a plan. e5, yikes. High aggression. Queen c2 is lame. I mean, at least go to a4, you know. You're trying to threaten your opponent, right? So if they move the knight, you have queen a7 or something. You have to at least threaten something. The only chess creator who could get away with a rap instructional vid. I don't think you know for sure which chess players know how to rap or not. Patient with it. Yeah, h4 is forced looking Lane Haas. Yep. All right, bishop takes e5. There's some hope. Now knight f4 is even more hope. Come on, Falk. We need some points. Yeah, knight f4 does win on the spot. Ooh, yeah, we'll take that too. Thank you. Yeah, Fox giving us something to believe in. Seth's game is sort of slow moving and reasonable so far, Rango. So far, you know, very acceptable play from both sides there. I guess bishop d5 keeps the game going a little bit. Yeah. Good choice. Oh my god. Oh my god. No. Ah. Now that's some pain for us. That's some pain for us coming in. An opening course? That's not going to happen, friends. I mean, no course is really going to happen. I'll publish some free videos on YouTube now and then. How's Clark's next game going? Yeah, solid up to here, but defending this B pawn is just silly, right? I mean, just castle, ignore the B pawn. Even, yeah. Now he needs something like knight a4, taking c5. He trades first. Maybe black could take with the queen in response instead of the bishop. Took with the queen, though. Risky. Super risky. But I guess white's got no way to win. Just a trade. Queen goes to a5 and escapes. Good idea, Chili Buttons. And I'll say you saved money with that $5, because if not for this video, you would have gone and wasted hundreds of dollars on other opening courses. And then what? I'll try and have Chessable like promote a video that basically, or promote a course that basically tells people not to buy their other courses. We have a Patreon patient, yeah. A Patreon here.
Hey, David.
Hey.
That went poorly.
Yeah, quite poorly. Normally you're very like comfortable in these Scotch positions, but you just didn't have a plan in this game.
I hate this. So this is a weird version of the opening that actually forces white to play it. But the normal bishop c5 on move 4, and then white responds bishop c3, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I hate playing that, actually. Like, the white is like, it's really tough.
Yeah.
And I normally play just like take c6.
Yeah, that's fine.
And maybe I should have done that still here, but I was like, oh, he played this weird check move and I get something, but it just ended up in the same structure that I hate.
Yeah.
And I just played poorly from there.
Well, I think you should play f4 probably.
Yeah, instead of on the queen e2 move, I was like, I spent a while on a position, like obviously nothing's tactical, but I was just at a loss for plans.
Yeah, for sure. And that's right to invest the time there. At least you tried, and that increases your chances of learning something from whatever you thought about and then what happened. So you're right to think, but I think that f4 looks correct.
Yeah, f4 looks strong.
Expanding, two pawns side by side, rook on f1 gets developed that way. And then
I was thinking about queen f3 just because I want the queen trade, but I just figured he would go queen g6. And I couldn't find like a great follow-up from there, and my d2 knight is a little dumb.
Yeah. I don't think there's any reason to go for a queen trade either. I think with f4, I mean, you've got a nice pawns in that direction. I would play it fairly aggressively.
Okay. That's good to know. Well, yeah. I'm going to hop back in and play the next game then.
Great.
Thanks.
Go for it. How's Falk doing? 1 minute against 1446. His opponents used like 10 seconds this game plus like increment, right? Falk's used 13 and a half minutes. Falk's up a rook though. Last move was queen f5. It's looking clean. How's Seth doing? f5 played recently. Developing his rook. Beautiful. Beautiful, proper chess from Seth so far. Drit definitely used 3 minutes on that one key move. Patient, like trying to come up with a plan. In that first game. And look at the end, had 3 minutes left. So no, Dritman used time just fine, actually. Oh, queen here. That's a strong move from the enemy. This a5 move was probably slightly hurting Seth. And, he might prefer king h8 and f5 moves kind of faster there instead of a5. Yeah. Falk's opponent has no chess culture. Yeah, I mean, he moved the queen around in the opening, was gifted a pawn, then hung a rook, and now is just playing on down a rook against a 1600 without resigning. plus just not thinking. I mean, why play a 15-minute game if you don't use any of your 15 minutes? I agree, Far Eastern. Total lack of chess culture. How's Clark doing this game? Better. Knight a4. Oh, Snatch King didn't find the a5 square, and that cost the game. Trade, take this knight, take this piece, take this pawn. Good. Very clean, Clark. Very good. Taking the file. Let's go. Remember your basics. Bring out all your pieces, put them on good squares, take all your opponent's pieces, right? Well, we got like another Scotch game with black this time. Oh no, white played the English. Okay. So just a simple sort of Scheveningen kind of Sicilian here. H3 looks very not helpful for white, but we'll see. Normally you'd be wanting to put your rook on c1 here. Yeah, it's a reverse Sicilian. Okay. White comes into the center and takes probably an isolated pawn here because black can take. And if white tries to take with pieces instead of with the d-pawn, then at the end, black has bishop f6, kicking the queen, and then take on c3, and white still gets a bad isolated pawn. So this move's just slightly bad, and the refutation, so to speak, or the most that black can get out of it, is just trading and giving white an isolated pawn. I think you just click on redeem it, chili buttons, and then Kostya's like gets a log of it, and then Kostya communicates with you about who you want a lesson with, and yeah. Wow, that's a lot of gold for you, Dassner. Probably through Discord, I think, is where you would talk to Kostya about it. Hey, Scott. So among, like, you know, the fun things going on this week, Scott is going to host his first show on Chess Dojo. I mean, Scott's been on as, like, my guest before, so some of you may have seen him, but he will have his own show this week. He's going to give you guys an extra chance to play a tournament. God, Gianna's soldering on. It's an agony. How's Seth doing? Whoa. Seth played something fancy. Look at this. Trade, and won. Took him down. Look at that, folks. Queen d5, king here. b4. No. There's issues. There's issues. Here, boom. If pawn takes, bishop g5. And here, knight takes, and there's no time to capture the rook. And, whoa, and Kevin McMaven left the queen hanging, too. I thought...
what were your thoughts on that game?
Basically flawless grandmaster looking chess.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it looked like a classical game. Very clean. Very nice. Proper chess.
Yeah. I got it.
I think your a5 move is not, like, needed.
Yeah.
And you could
I
just...
realized that. Because I think I was missing that I could play f5 because I was thinking my bishop would be pinned, but it was like, what if he takes the pawn on f5? His bishop's hanging, and so I played f5 a move late.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
so
like
I think the
thinking
moves...
I needed to move the king. I need to play like king h8 before I could play f5. But
right. So the plan
not
that makes the
necessary.
most sense for you is f5. So on the move you played f5, you could either just play f5 or you could play king h8. Those are the two moves that would make the most sense. Other than that, like one move, hesitation, perfection.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you put your pieces on all the right squares, fought for what mattered, seemed to know what
Right, because like
what was
I
at stake
wasn't
in the opening, and then you develop the rook with f5. It's
Right.
easy.
yeah, yeah, and I thought like bishop e6 is maybe like a little bit controversial, but because like the dark square bishop's terrible. I have like the pawn on the dark square is like pretty fortified in the center.
Yeah, but where else can you put that bishop?
That's true. Especially after he plays h3. Yeah, and if he takes it right, it develops a rook, and I figure when you recapture, then he's just helping me play d5, right?
Yep. If he recaptures, then your f pawn covers the weaknesses, potentially a d5 and f5, and you've got an open file, so you're good. If he doesn't take, there's nothing saying that you have to take on d5. You were just developing the bishop best you could. Right. And one of the main points of the system, although you seem to know everything, but for anybody watching who doesn't know, one of the main points of this move order that Seth's using is that for white to really take advantage of this, the knight on f3 has to maneuver towards a square like e3 or something, where it can go to f5, d5, c4. But the moment that knight moves off of f3, black plays bishop g5 and trades the bad dark squared bishop. And then white just doesn't have that much of an advantage. I mean, it's like a tiny advantage for white to have the pawn on c3 versus the pawn on c5. But that's kind of like the idea from black's perspective.
Right. So then, yeah, because I remember I was like thinking like, yeah, I know I want to play, and I'm like, wait, why is the knight still on f3? But I'm like, it's stopping me from playing bishop g5, so there's that, I guess.
Yeah. But if it just sits on f3 forever, then white can't play f4, white can't develop any other plans either, so it's not really a solution for white to play the whole game with the knight on f3. Well, I mean, I guess he's got the plan of c3, a3, b4, right? I mean, and that's what he went for. I mean, it all made sense until he miscalculated the rook takes f3 idea.
Yeah, he was playing pretty well. Yeah, I got kind of lucky that I think he missed the knight recaptures when the knight takes the bishop. That it hits the queen.
All right, Clark equalizes things over there.
That was hilarious. I can't believe he thought for like 3 minutes and then just blundered his bishop. I was just like, you have 3 minutes to think, and then you have 3 minutes to think, and then you're just gonna drop the bishop. That's fine. I mean, I did feel like that knight a4 move was pretty strong, and it felt like a little tilting at that point when I played it. I was like, ooh, this looks real good. And then it just. I mean, ever since that move, I felt like I was just winning, sort of like everything. The edge was on my side, pretty much from that move.
Yeah, I mean, there was one way to find queen a5 and not lose a piece, and your opponent definitely didn't find it. So.
After 3 minutes, it was his longest thing, and he's just like, nah.
David, should I play another one of those or something short?
Another one of whatever you feel like. I've got time.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, Daster, I'm pretty sure that Kostya thought for a minute straight and hung mate to David, so, like, yeah, it happens.
Mate in one in the end game, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. It was like mate in one. It was just like he was thinking the whole time and not looking at his king.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So Falk played an opponent who had 15 minutes out of 15 minutes left. Oh, I think they went off to play more games. Great. Fine. Falk is still like trapped in this first game. Clark's on to game 3. And Falk's opponent, who spent like 15 seconds on the first 30 moves of the game, finally in the end game down a rook here, just burning the clock. Okay, advanced French. Clark better learn how to play this pawn structure if he's going to play the advanced French and Caro all the time. And that's not it, right? I mean, queen b6 just like destroys the squares left behind. Oh, 95. Shoot. Missed that move, it feels like. Shucks. Okay, well, you could get the pawn back on d4 if he wants. It's not the end of the world, but it's definitely the end of, you know, him having a good position. Okay, took the pawn on d4. That's good. Shanil had just a 94 move at some point here. Let's see. 94 probably here, right? When the queen couldn't go anywhere. And like queen b4. Maybe bishop takes c6 and knight c6 is what Lane Haas has in mind or something. Good night, Amanda. The advance is just bad against the French spaghetti, yeah. It's actually just bad for white. Okay, Lane Haas confirms. That's how to end the game. Knight e4, bishop takes c6 here. White won a pawn here, but then Drittman got the pawn back over here. And now white chooses to avoid the queen trade, which looks very risky. I mean, black's got rook a8. And the queen seems to be forced back to d1, and then a2 is hanging. Drittman's going to be feeling confident now and looking if he's got anything even better than that, probably. He's probably wanting, like, he's like, huh, with that kind of a move, what do I have? Yeah, e5's bad for white in the French, Daster. Just on move 3. Just on move 3, it's bad. Like after knight c3, bishop b4, it's good. It changes. Man, Falk is still in this thing. Agony. Seth pushes past c5. That's typical when black plays c5 in the King's Indian. You often push past, get that sort of Benoni set up. It may seem like a stretch to you, Race to GM, but that's my opinion. I'm not going to spout a bunch of like opening theory at you guys because I'm not interested in that, but it's my opinion that e5 is bad for white on move 3. Well, that's great, lowest level of hell. Congratulations. The maiden 1 threat's coming through big time. Yeah, knight c3 is my preference, Daster. I would definitely call it the correct move. What happened? Black won by checkmate. 95. 95 queen f2 for Clark. Clutching his head. This is Clark's getting all the blunders out today. Just getting them all out of his system. Knight bd2. I mean, this position was already just miserable. I mean, knight e5, losing the d4 pawn. Bishop f6, developing the opponent's piece. Back and forth with the knight while just losing things.
That was. I gotta say that I really did like that. The move from my opponent, the e95, was just a clutch. That was a really cool, like, distractive little tactic.
Yeah. I mean, every move wins for black in that position.
Yeah. Isn't
Like,
that bad?
like e5, e4 is probably even stronger than knight e5.
Yeah.
Because knight e5 you could have castled.
I just felt like I had that nice little initiative with the bishop and the pawn. Like, I always feel good when I get that e5 and the bishop comes out, so I can put the pressure on.
Oh, no, that's
But it just
terrible.
turned-
You should never do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
After
I made it
bishop
work.
After bishop g5, if your opponent plays queen b6, you're already losing a pawn for nothing.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, I turned it into good stuff before, and that's why I felt that way. So
Mhm.
I think it was just this false sense of,
Yeah.
you know.
And if your opponent plays bishop e7, then you trade, and you're bringing out two of their kingside pieces while bringing out only one of your pieces. If they play f6 like in the game, then you're giving up your center pawn on e5 while developing their knight. It's actually
Okay.
bad against pretty much anything they could do.
Bishop g5 is just not the move, huh?
Yeah, you have to play probably c3 here to defend your d4 pawn.
Yeah. All right.
Probably even the move before. When they play c5, people normally play c3 to defend the pawn. Like when you played knight f3, black could just take it. And then, I don't know if you're planning to take with your queen or your knight, but in either case, black will play knight c6. And
Mm-hmm. All right.
yeah, you've got something hanging, so you sort of like lose tempi to their natural counterattacking moves in the center.
It just felt like that went from like me getting all the development to them just storming in and just having full control really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of surprising how that just like flip flopped.
Well, bishop g5. Bishop g5 is a sin that's improving your opponent's position, right? And then even though black should be the one calling sin, on the next move after the pawn trade, you played knight e5, right? Moving a piece a second time, trying to do something aggressive when you have no threats, right? So that's sin again, because you can't play that move. Your d4 pawn's hanging, right?
I was imagining that I could get some sort of queen h5 checks in, with some fun stuff.
Your opponent would have to really blunder for that to happen. You've got no justification for going after your opponent, right? Because there's nothing better about your position than theirs. You're not ahead in development or position or anything, right? So you play like an aggressive move like knight e5, and your opponent responds by taking your center pawn for free, right? Then you trade on f6, which brings out another piece of theirs for free. Then you retreat your knight. So, I mean, they're having an easy time.
Sinful pleasures.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
Yep.
I finished my game too.
Finally.
Yeah. I should learn how to end games.
That was your first game, right?
Yeah, it was still the first game.
They had 15 minutes on the clock, and then suddenly, in an endgame down a rook, they spent like an hour playing the game out with you.
It was kind of annoying. Like they blitzed out like the first 20 moves.
Yeah.
And then when they were losing, they like took 7 minutes to make a move. Yeah, maybe they were still hoping for something. I was kind of annoyed that I missed bishop takes b4.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's annoying.
But
when your opponent castled queenside, then it didn't matter so much anymore. If they'd played sort of safely and castled kingside, then it would have mattered.
But, I mean, it's what I was worried about. Like, but he didn't do it. And he made even more queen moves, and I was like happy.
Yeah.
He moved his queen like 10 times early on.
Yep. Really, really an abysmal opening.
Yeah, this one's horrible fun.
Oh my god, Clark's queen is out again on move 3, where the opponent can play knight c3. Like 2 games ago today.
Opening did he play?
He played e4, e5, f4, d5.
Okay.
And then white took on d5 and he took with the queen. What you're supposed to do there is play e4 or c6 or...
Okay.
I mean, any move other than... But I already told him about not putting his queen on d5 when the opponent can play knight c3, just like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, he didn't even take a piece. He just put it on d5. Oh no, okay, he did.
Yeah, he took a pawn, but...
Yeah. Yeah, this doesn't look good for black, does it? Like, white can like blow open this, like take a pawn on e5 and...
Yeah, I mean, white just played d4 instead of taking the pawn, so now white's advantage is gone, because now their pawn on f4 just looks stupid, right? It's like, why is there a pawn on f4? It blocks your bishop, it opens up a diagonal to your king if you ever try to castle that way. So white's advantage disappeared right there.
Okay, we'll play one more now.
Alrighty.
See if I can finish 2 today.
Alright, Tripman's playing a fun endgame, except this move was probably a big mistake, allowing rook d7, right? He needed to move his king towards the center here, I guess. White doesn't play rook d7, but plays something else, which is also a little bit annoying. Yeah. Does Seth have this position sufficiently controlled? Queen b4, bishop d3, knight b6. So white can consider like queen e2 or e5, maybe even b3. Oh yeah, b3 is very possible. Like, I mean, you have to watch the knight on c3. b3, knight takes d5 or knight takes e4, you just take with the knight. Yeah. Okay, queen e2. Now, Huang Yo has to play bishop g4. Has to, I think. Because otherwise, you know, Seth's going to play a5, kick that knight back to d7, blocking the pieces, then rook a4, trapping the queen. So, okay, bishop g4 is played. That's good. Oh, actually, that reminds me of something. In this position here... Oh, no, you couldn't play a5 because knight c4 hits the queen. Now in a position like this, you can play a5 because bishop takes, queen takes, knight c4, there's rook a4, actually knight e5. Huh. And it doesn't work out. Okay. And bishop g4 is played, so a5 doesn't quite work out. There's this move coming now, right? Here, here. Oh, it hits the rook with the bishop. But yeah, it's not going to work out here, his back rank. He can't stop the bishop d6 problem like this. Yeah, Wrath of Gods. I think this is winning for white. A rook b8 was played. I was just like this, rang out knight b6 here. And yeah. I think this would have been the refutation, but it was far from obvious, right? The queen can't take because of this. Now black gets a little breathing room with bishop g4. Whoa, here. That's not good. Black has just queen a5 check there. Right? Or is queen d2 okay for white somehow? Maybe queen d2 is okay for white. Wow. Okay. e5. Bizarre. Queen a5 now is even better. Or just castling. I mean, white's not really doing anything great. But this move makes this bishop amazing, folks. You basically never want to play e5 against this bishop, right? Just hope that f7, e6 can hold it at bay. Hope. Okay, Seth in deep thought. Dripman down a piece here. How's Nordovic's queen coming out here? Bishop d6 here, 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 here. How nice of white. Here black should play bishop d7, right? But omits it. Now, I mean, white kindly waits for him to play bishop d7, then trades on c6 to bring the black bishop to a great square. Grabs the pawn. Bold. Some would call this move bold. I would call it bold. Yikes. Survivable. Survivable, but very, very brave. Queen e3, just losing the pawn on c4. And Seth's game comes apart. He didn't find the punish. And now it's just coming apart. White grabs the corresponding pawn. Hilarious. By charisma has a sense of humor. What went wrong in Seth's game? Well, when knight b6 came, threatening this pawn, he didn't find b3. He didn't find any way to chase these pieces away. He just let black take his pawn from him. He played here, right into bishop g4, then played queen e3, showing that he didn't even see bishop g4 coming, or he didn't have a plan against it, right? And then black took this pawn from him for free. And now black has traded their two worst minor pieces, the bishop and knight, while winning a pawn. Black's left with the great piece that's better than white's pieces, and, you know, easy pawn majority on the queen side. It's completely lost immediately. Was queen e2 with the aid of bishop d2 any good? He played queen e2. So you want to play bishop d2 here? So on takes, you're going to take with your g-pawn, right? At least, you know, you don't let this piece back into the game. Maybe keep the queen trapped. She can get away like this, so we shouldn't go for that. Should probably play a5, right? Taking away the retreat square and planning to just trap her with like rook a4 at some point. Yeah, I mean, this should be great for white. As long as you don't let black, you know, like take this pawn, you should be good. I don't know if you're really threatening knight b5 because the queen's got e5 as an escape square. But basically, as long as you don't hang knight c4, you're good. I would say that. You want to do this, but this is very risky because you're like sacking things. This is very, very risky to play like this. I guess this is your plan. Not clear that you have more than a repetition here, but the opponent can also do this now. If you take with the queen, then you lose the rook. Black's got 3 minor pieces. No, it's way, way, way risky to do such operations. I mean, you should just, all you have to do is defend c4 and you're winning, right? So you don't want to make it at all complicated as white, I think. Right? You just want to win. Keep the opponent contained. What's Clark laughing about? This game got really nice and intense. Whew. I mean, 93 was probably winning here, right? After c4, the queen defends this, so it's complicated. More fair to call it complicated. Okay. That's great, Daster. That's really great. So this position is still very, very complicated that Clark has. Very, you know, playable for either player. Tripman fighting on painfully. Live position. Black just leaves h6 hanging? Really? Like Dripman, like, sorry. Seth threatens the h6 pawn and Black just repeats moves, losing it. Okay. All right, go to work, Daster. Enjoy it. Enjoy that. Queen d3, yeah, that works. Gosh, at some point, white's just going to get the d5 square here. And now Fox begging white to take it. I don't know, Wrath of Gods, if white had to. I mean, what white did is good for white. Maybe there was something even better. Let me see. Because, I mean, I love having my bishop on this diagonal when the opponent plays e5. But you're right that this could get him to f5 in one move, which is pretty good too. Is it even better than what white did? I guess so. What white did is really good for white too, but that's even better. You're probably right about that to do it. I would just say that was white's tastiest option of many, many tasty options. Rook takes G2? Show us. Clark! The eyes go big. The grin gets bigger. Holy moly. White's got queen b7, though. I mean, this doesn't just win. Resignation! Queen b7, right, would be a draw.
Oh my gosh. How do you like that tactic, David?
Wow, it just blew the guy's brains out, huh?
Isn't that gnarly?
Yeah.
Like, he even played a great move, threatening to take my rook down on b1 if I tried to do anything, you know, with checkmate. So I was like,
Right.
hey, but I want to do some. Ooh, what about? Hold on.
Yeah.
Does this work? Like, can white even equalize there? Or, like, keep it? Or is that just
Yeah,
a
if white
loss?
plays queen b7, it'll be equal.
He was just like, I can't. Queen beat me.
If he just trades off the queens.
Oh, yeah. Wow, he actually did have a move.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a technical position to, like, count around in there to, like. I like how you just see that. Like, yep, no, it's queen b7. Like, that's the
Yeah, I mean,
top
I
move.
just know it, right? Like, when
Yeah.
you know it, you know it. So.
I'm not even familiar with this. Wasn't like a puzzle thing I knew. I just thought about it and was like, I think that's a thing.
Yeah.
I think it works, but it equalizes. It doesn't like no. He doesn't get better at that point.
Right. Now, Clark, you know I like you, but you can't just play queen d5 when your opponent can play knight c3. I'm going to have to just tell it to you bluntly. You can't just play queen d5 when they can play knight c3 like that.
Okay. I guess I was imagining like a Scandinavian,
Right.
but that's not a Scandinavian.
Is the Scandinavian a good opening?
I mean, I play it a lot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to be harder to convince then.
I mean, it looked like the similar pattern, and I was like, I don't know what to do here, but I think that's a similar pattern that I know.
Mhm.
So it's justifiable because
Yeah.
people do play it like GMs in tournaments.
I suppose they do. Yeah, I mean, quite rarely. Okay, this is a little bit worse than the Scandinavian.
It is worse.
A little bit worse because of the inclusion of f4, e5 lets white take on e5, and then if you recapture, you're moving your queen again. If you don't recapture, then they play knight f3 and d4, and their center's really good.
Okay.
Like in the game, your opponent messed it up when they chose to play d4 on move 6.
Okay.
Because then you play e takes d4, and there's nothing wrong with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a perfectly good Scandinavian, actually. It's better than the Scandinavian then, because your opponent's got this pawn on f4 that's not doing anything and just weakens their game, and it's a move that they didn't bring out a piece.
Okay.
Right? So after e takes d4, it's better than the Scandinavian. It's like great for black. But
Mm-hmm.
instead of that, white could have played pawn takes e5. And then, what do you want to do? White's planning to play d4, right? And just
Yeah,
take over the center.
I'd probably end up playing something like bishop, just something basic like bishop to e6.
Right.
And
You just
then-
develop your pieces. White will play d4,
On with my life.
and you'll just play the game with white having 2 center pawns against your f7 pawn. Right?
But what about the weaknesses for the king created by having the removal of the f7 pawn without any sort of actual pawn storm involved with the king side?
Yeah,
Is
it's like
that-
there's
it's
like
like
a mild
it's
weakness
gonna
of the
have-
king, but probably compensated for by the rook having an open file. It's not
Yeah.
like a big deal.
Okay.
You would have a tempo ahead in development, I guess,
Mhm.
but the tempo is your queen, so it's not like amazing.
Right.
So I would say, I mean, you're pretty much down a pawn for nothing if white takes on e5 with the f pawn. And you'll notice that if you took the pawn back with knight e5, queen e2 wins.
Oh, yeah.
Wins. So you
Right.
can't take back in that position. So basically, as you said, you could play bishop e6. I would think bishop g4 might be a little bit more annoying for white, so that when white plays d4, you can castle and try and pressure the d4 pawn.
Okay.
But I would tell you not to expect this kind of stuff to like really be good.
Now isn't now, just to be fair though, d5 is one of the proper responses to the king.
Oh yeah, d5 is a perfectly
That's
fine
one of the
move
solid
here
ones.
against white's f4 move.
But I'm just not supposed to take the pawn immediately.
But you
I
shouldn't
just
take
play
it with
like
your
knight
queen.
f6, just
So
like knight f6 or
the moves you can
something.
play in this position include e4,
Okay.
pushing past.
Oh no, I knew that.
Right?
I knew that.
Then the f pawn is again looking kind of bad, and you're stopping knight f3.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Another move for black in this position is pawn takes f4.
Oh.
That's
alright.
playable as well, and the idea is that you're threatening queen h4, white plays knight f3, and then you play knight f6, trying to put your knight on d5, which would be a good square for that knight.
Yep.
Right? And your third option after pawn takes d5 that's like GM approved is the move c6. It's a rare move, but the idea is to put a pawn on d5, or if white takes, to bring out your knight to c6 and just have a really fast development.
Ooh, that looks spicy.
Yeah, it's really
like
like
that
messy and not well known.
That sounds like fun, actually.
Yeah. So those are possible moves, but queen takes d6, I want to tell you, like, basically it's not possible. I don't I don't want to see your queen on d5 on move 3 every game.
All right.
Yeah.
At least it's not move 2 like the Scandinavian.
At least it wasn't the Scandinavian this time.
Anyways, yeah.
Anyway, you played a perfectly good game anyway, and queen d5 is not going to, like, on its own lose you games at this level, but I mean, there's no reason to just be playing such a bad move.
Yeah, I felt like one of their bad moves later was c4 to my f6 when it was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna take your bishop. I'm gonna take your knight." No, sorry. That was kind of fun.
Wow, Seth's
I
game is
just-
super complicated.
I really liked that game though. It was kind of, well, especially because of the tactic. I mean, I haven't gotten a solid tactic like that in a long time. That was just cool. Anyways, I'll take a look at Seth's.
Yeah, Seth's game is crazy. He's up a knight, and his king's getting attacked, and he's got 30 seconds to deal with it.
Alright. Oh wow, and his opponent is 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah.
I guess this is no surprise.
That's gonna win.
Yeah.
As
Oh,
long
you're
as he
up,
doesn't
Mike.
flag. I mean, he has like queen h3 coming.
That's a good resource. Yeah. That's a really good resource.
Got the increment going.
Oh, he's playing increment. What's the increment?
10 seconds.
Oh, alright. Okay. Alright.
Oh, yeah. People in chat are pointing out that last move, instead of king f2, he could have just gone straight to h3 already.
Yeah.
And traded
That
everything
would have
off.
been better.
He could have played rook h3 or queen h3. Either one.
That's
Rook h3. Does he have queen f4?
Yeah. And then you move your king like back into g1 or something.
That's just cool.
Yeah. Without calculating
the
this.
queen can stay on. You have to trade off a rook though.
Yeah. Without calculating the simple move I would have played would have just been.
Mate with just a queen.
Yeah. I would have just played rook e1 to e3, right? Because rooks on the first rank, it's an important thing to know, they can't really cover the king well. That's why, like, after king f2, he gets checked from f4, right? The rook on e1 may as well not be there as far as counting attackers and defenders right now.
Yeah.
So if you ever have a chance when you're getting attacked to lift your rook to the second or third rank, that's, like, really, really valuable. Makes it a defender, so. Uh-oh. Queen h4, g3. Yikes.
Oh, no, Seth, no.
Yikes, yikes, yikes.
No.
This is more intense than I wanted.
No.
I guess he's got rook h1 coming still, so he's just completely winning.
I don't see any follow-up, especially now.
Queen b2, rook h1, king g5, queen g4, queen h5, king g2, defending rook h1. Come on, Seth. Kill him with your king. Kill him with your king.
Oh, well.
I feel g4 coming. Huh? Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
that'll
that's
work.
fine.
It's fine, but, I mean, king g2. Kill him with your king. How often do you get to force resignation with your king in the middle game?
Forced resignation? What rating do you think we are?
I mean, king g2 and black can't stop rook h1.
Hey,
there are hanging maiden ones everywhere.
My opponent,
No, I know.
my opponent just resigned in the mid game when apparently they didn't even have to. So they were
Yeah.
just so intimidated by my tactic, they just
Oh,
were like,
king g4.
Yeah.
That's mating with a king. Black has pawns. Not enough, but he has pawns. Oh, that looks bad, David. Oh,
I say you just push. A5 here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. a5 was correct.
Yeah. That's okay, but not as good.
This is not easy to win, this endgame.
That move was okay, but not as good as A5, right?
Yeah. I mean, a5 was the best. Rook a1 was maybe playable. Now after rook takes b3, he's probably not even winning. Like, that's how fast it can go.
You gotta.
In these
Wait, why
endgames.
didn't you take with the A pawn?
Because he didn't see rook takes b3.
Take A.
And that's
That is
the
a
face
grim
of someone
night.
who doesn't. I mean, there's still a lot to play for, but
Yeah, but you can't win anymore if your opponent plays well.
wow, that's impressive.
Black just needs to not push the G and F pawns, right?
Yeah, not create weaknesses on the side of the board where they're weak.
I don't even know if I would do that. I would have gone rook a3 maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rook a3 is a good move. And then just move the a pawn down to a4.
Yeah.
Instead of the c pawn, keep your
Now
structure.
Seth just eats it up.
Yeah. The C pawn, now you're not gonna be able to really hold it for long, probably.
The white king can get to it more easily. This got the knight off the rim. The c pawn's easily blocked. But I can make some moves here to show people what might be better. Rook a3, knight b2. Although knight c4 takes d6 is still a problem for black. I don't know. Maybe just king f7, just sit around.
Yeah.
Or maybe if rook b4, knight c3, a5, there's rook a1. Yeah, there's no easy way for black to sit around and make progress. All right, a5 is played. Rook a1 is played one move too soon by Seth. I think king e3 first is much easier because now after rook b3, he's got to do something with the knight. And just playing king d4 would be very nice here. So the knight doesn't get to your king side. You attack the c pawn.
Yeah.
Now rook b5. would be... Oh, no. Rook b5, knight d4, and if rook c5, knight e6 check. Okay, so there was no hope there.
What about c3?
Sure.
No.
Can be played.
No.
I mean, he played it, but I
Rook's-
don't believe in this.
Rook c1
Well,
probably
I
deals
mean,
with it. There's also rook a5, and then on c2, rook a7 to c7. If your rook's behind the pawn, it's over.
Yeah. I would have played rook b5
Okay,
to
now
c5 as black.
Mm.
This is nothing.
I guess it's nothing, but folks, do not, like, oh man, check here. Cover c1 and spare my heart. Spare my heart.
Yeah. This is much better.
I mean, rook a2, look at this, g5. Yeah, this mattered, right? Now this rook's got, like, coming to e3, hitting the knight. I guess he can defend it with the other rook taking the pawn. Oh, it's just, why do this to me? Why do this to me? Black can play rook takes g3 and get rid of one of his pawns. Always, you know, cover c2 and c1 at once if you can.
Yeah.
Woo, come on, Seth.
I didn't
What
see
is
that
it?
quip before Wrath of Gods, but that was a good one. I often force my own resignation with
Oh.
a king move.
Rook g3.
Rook g3. Knight. Wait.
For black, rook takes g3.
Yep.
Knight. Oh man, yeah. Oh no, rook takes g3 and then just rook takes c2 and
Yep.
white's up a knight against.
White can
that's a
still
little
win,
too
but
much for maybe.
look at that move too. Rook c3, what a move. Again, not possible if white's rook were on c7. Now the knight's blockading it, can't move, rook can't win it. Oh, it's just all kinds of difficult.
I mean,
Still
I
winning.
guess you try to go king e6.
Yep. Yeah, you can still
King
win
e6,
with
yeah.
rook on
should be able
a7,
to
king
find
on
that.
e6. Just go after the opponent's pawns. And if the rook ever goes after your knight, then you bring your rook to c7. But, I mean, you have to recognize just how awkward these placements are compared to, you know, how easy it gets when you just put your pieces on the right squares. Which are different for endgames than for middle games, so a whole thing to learn.
What's Folk's game look like?
Yeah, it's very complicated. He's got a weak d6 pawn, but he was left with a knight at least, which can maneuver reasonably well in these positions. So it's still a very interesting game.
Oh, I see. Because you can only go back and forth between those two.
I could move one of them over here, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Like, because I don't know. I mean, I could go play another, but I've played 4 already.
All right, so we'll put Falk over there. We've got Seth over here. Cool.
I just thought it would be cool to end with the mad tactics.
Yep.
Wait, what move did Seth play?
Knight c1, and Huang Yo thought for a while and then played rook to c4 to restrain king e6.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was Seth's move this whole
Yeah.
time.
So now maybe rook a6 to c6 is the simplest way to play a position like this. I mean, it never hurts to throw in rook a7 check, send that king to somewhere bad. But
I was trying to get a mating net going with g4, but nothing really quite
yeah.
works.
Wait, could you just do now? King takes f6.
No, because rook takes e4. You don't want to trade pawns here.
Oh, well, that's what Seth did.
I know.
It's checkmate. No, almost checkmate.
Nowhere near
But-
checkmate. And he's got like one
well,
or
if
two
his
pawns
rook-
left.
If his rook was on a8, not a7, that would be checkmate. Oh man.
Oh, wait. Oh, my God.
Yeah, there's going his second to last pawn.
That g-pawn
Yeah.
prevented white from being mated.
What is this game? What is this game, David?
Oh, Seth, I'm looking at his face, too.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is it just rook d1?
Rook
Yep.
d1.
Rook d1. Oh no! Wait, okay. No, there's nothing. Did he just lose?
No, yeah, you sack the knight. You play like
Yeah.
knight c3 and it's a draw. Or sorry, knight b3.
No. You
Okay,
leave the
knight
knight there.
B3.
Sorry, folks. You
Yeah.
leave the knight on c1. You play rook c7 finally.
Oh, wait,
Let them take the
what?
knight and then play king d6. But here, just rook b1 attacking the knight.
Oh,
Did
that's
his
cool.
opponent time rook b1? Oh man.
Rook
Well,
c7.
now rook c7.
Jesus, he ever gonna put this rook
No,
on c7?
rook
He's
c7.
driving me
No!
flipping crazy.
Rook c7. No, don't do that. Wait.
Rook c7.
No, that loses.
No.
No.
Yeah, he lost.
Oh
It's
no.
over.
Oh, he had it drawn.
That was so oh man. Wow.
Rook b1.
Yeah, again, going from the side instead of from behind is always just bad, basically.
Oh no.
What? Okay. You didn't just take
Take what?
And Falk just lost too.
the rook. Just you could have just done rook.
Yep, he could have.
Rook takes h1 and then just like had a rook and a queen. But you know, now I guess now just go for the get checked, get wrecked
Yeah.
maneuver. Well, now he finds it. Okay, yeah, now it's a stalemate. Get that king in right behind
It's
the
not
pawn.
stalemate.
Yeah, get
This
stalemated
is
by
where you
your own
just sack the
pawn.
rook for the pawn, or you play check every time, and there's no worries.
I like those pawn umbrellas though, you know.
Okay, I finished my game.
Yeah, I saw.
Was kind of rough. I didn't know what to do like for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, the position was bad for you the whole time.
Okay.
That was part of it. Ever since you played e5 and ruined your own position, it's been pretty bad since then.
Oh my god, if he takes the pawn, it's stalemate.
Don't take the pawn. Don't take
Okay.
the pawn.
Now it comes with check.
I mean, I'm rooting for Seth, but you know.
Are you now?
I always root for stalemate.
The guy's just having
Actually,
fun.
Pancake Gremlin, I don't think the opponent is trolling. I just think this is the mating technique.
I think the opponent's having fun now.
Oh man. I'm happy to see that Seth is over 1400
Yeah.
and still over 1400. I don't know what happened to my rating today, actually, during all these games, because 2 wins, 2 losses. But I don't know what the margins of the opponents, like, you know, so if I went up or down.
Hey, Seth.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sorry.
nah, whatever. Stupid. It's a stupid game. Stupid. Yeah, well, whatever. I guess
Well-
he gets credit for playing faster than me.
Well, there's a lot to learn from that one. So first of all, like, it's really tough to win end games with an extra knight.
Yeah,
Very, very tough to do.
I hung a pawn for no reason right at the beginning of it.
Yep.
Just I don't even know what I was like. I don't know. I was even like, I'll take it with the knight, and the file went open for the rook. Like, moron. Anyway,
I would say that several times this week, I've seen people with an extra knight try and like trade queens to go win an endgame. When with the extra knight, they should try to checkmate the opponent, because knights are good at checkmating opponents and bad at winning endgames.
but he was gonna like check me for like ever.
No.
He was gonna check me for a little bit. It was gonna be.
So in the
I couldn't
move,
believe he traded queens. Honestly, he had another check.
I mean, of course he traded queens. It gives him some chance to like save the game. If he runs away, his king's gonna get mated. It's his king
Yeah.
that's in trouble. If you look at the move before you played queen g4, the cleanest move for you, I think, is king g2. And then next move, whatever he does, you play rook h1.
Wait. So
It's at move
before-
38. Your opponent's just played queen h5.
Queen h5. Yeah, and I blocked it, right?
Yeah.
So you said there.
King g2.
play
And
king
then
g2.
and then next move you play rook g1.
Rook g1.
Rook h1. Sorry.
H1. Yeah. Rook h1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had a minute left, but I was just really trying. I didn't even. Yeah. I see that now. Obviously,
You
but
were feeling like you were getting attacked and you needed to like defend and trade off and stuff, right?
I was just gonna check me
Yeah.
all over the board.
Yeah. But you've got
With my time running down, I'm gonna get like skewered or something.
Yeah.
You know, by a queen.
yeah. But the reality of it is you've got
'Cause,
like
I have a rook hanging. Like at some point that it's like so.
yeah. The reality
Yeah.
is you've got like the pieces to cover your king, and it's the opponent's king that's in more danger than yours.
Sure.
If you weren't, ticking down on time, but like if you, step back and look at it later, in this kind of position, you want to attack the opponent's king.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that was definitely what I was trying to do earlier, but then he just like gave me I mean, when I took the knight, because I was under a minute, and I'm like, I had to calculate that taking the knight, and then I was like, I can't really calculate it, I just have to do it. I'm like, I don't see how he mates or perpetual checks me. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, so I couldn't see, but I'm like, it might be there. I don't think it's there. So I just took the knight.
Yep.
And like,
Which you're totally right to do.
Yeah.
And then at move like 32, you've got a chance with like queen g6 to go after the opponent's king as well.
I just hate that I was down to a minute. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe just needed just a little more time to look at the position more calmly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I spent so much time earlier in the game trying to figure out how not to lose a pawn and then how to best lose a pawn.
Yeah.
I'm like, is there a way out of this? I don't think so. And like 3 minutes of like, is there a way out of this?
Right.
And then like 2 minutes of like, where should I lose? How should I
Right.
lose this pawn?
From how to get an advantage to how not to lose a pawn to how best to lose a pawn. Yeah.
Right. And like, I couldn't believe, yeah. Well, he let me back into the game like almost immediately after that, but like,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I allowed that too. I was like, how did I miss? I was like, oh, knight b. I was like, I got so focused on this thought that he might try to play b5. I forgot about his most obvious idea is to play knight b6, and I know that I played these positions before. It's like this position is like the reason this opening I feel like is good for black sometimes is like the position's not good, but it's so complicated that it's like there's enough things to keep track of that there's like a good chance you'll miss one.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how I get beat by King's Indians sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you have them almost squashed, but there's
But then
some
you have to
difficulty
find,
level
but then you
still.
have to like figure out what to do about it.
Yeah.
And like I wasted like at one move I played from bishop e2 to bishop d3, and I vaguely remember the idea. I was like gonna like maybe maneuver the knight away from c3 so I overprotect it, but it was just like I'm just like thinking I'm like, oh, I've stopped their b5 idea, but knight b6 is the idea the whole time. And like,
Well, both are ideas, depending
Right.
on how you
yeah,
do it.
And so and then and so I just like, and I was like, and he played like a weird queen move that like seemed to lose a tempo, so I was like, all right, fine, I'll spend a move just repositioning and maneuvering everything. But it was anyway. I got it back, and then I was crushing him, and then that stupid endgame happened.
And actually, one of the things that I think is a big tip for something that I know that I need to think more too about in the end game, but it was definitely a few times for you there, was getting your rook behind your pawn, because that would have been the nail in the coffin. Behind, as far as being able
behind.
to
I never had a passed pawn.
Their pawn.
Behind their pawn, there was
The
like
C pawn.
I don't think I had a chance.
There was you had several chances.
When? He was gonna. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe later.
Yeah, there were many moves where you could put the rook on the c file, and that would be the right place to put it.
Maybe maybe before it's. Like, what move are you talking about, though? I could have left it on the c file in front of the pawn,
So.
which I considered.
So starting from move 48, when the pawn went to c2.
Right.
You put the rook on the side of the pawn.
But
So
I can't get it to c5. Obviously.
no, but you can get it to c7.
Okay. Yeah, but I thought this was I was pretty pleased with myself because these things because you can't defend it or push it, but then I was like, he has rook c3, and then yeah.
If you attack it from behind, then there's like far
But
like
if I play rook a7 there, doesn't he still have rook c3?
rook a7 is check, and then
Oh
and then
Check.
c7. Yeah. If you
Okay.
didn't have check, you could probably still win this position with rook a6 to c6. That would be another way to get to the c file. And deal with like the rook c3 type of move.
Yeah, if takes, you get a pass pawn 2 steps away from.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we had a rough go tonight.
Yes.
I hope you guys aren't feeling too bad about it.
I mean, even though I went even, I still actually ended up gaining like 8 rating points because of the differentials. So
Okay.
It worked out okay for me.
I don't know how to feel about these games where I'm like, well, I was easily winning if I have like more than a minute on my, if I just had like 3 minutes on my clock, but.
I mean, what
I
I
don't know
would
how to
do
feel
with
about
that,
this.
what I would do with that game if it were me, is I would set up the end game position against somebody else and like practice playing it with white. Because if it like
as a blitz game.
yeah, because like this position here, like somebody who's played a ton of end games, they can win it with just the increment, right? With 5 seconds on their clock plus the increment you have, they can win it because they'll just put the rook behind the pawn, keep all their stuff defended, and black runs out of moves at some point. Like, you can, like, get to that point yourself with one specific endgame, right? You won't have the skills to win every endgame in 5 seconds. But if you pick them, like, every now and then from your own games and, like, do some repetitions, like, you can get to a point where you can win this one in, like, just a few seconds plus an increment. Because, certain, like, basics, you're just, like, get behind that c-pawn no matter what. Like, if I've got a choice to trade pawns, don't trade pawns. Keep all my pawns on the board so I've got the most chance to win. Like, just, like, a couple things you get used to, and then...
Yeah.
Then you can just do it. So... Yeah, that's what I would do with this game, is just sort of, like, repeat that end game.
Yeah, fair enough. It's good. So, yeah. Yeah, that's true. I get something to learn out of that game, I guess.
Yeah. Dripman, your second game, you also had, like, a perfectly fine end game, right? And then, I think when you moved your you had your 2 bishops next to each other, kind of controlling all these squares. but you wanted to win because, I mean, that's what people
I
want to
pushed
do.
too hard. I needed to just, and I knew I had back rank issues pretty early in the end game, and I just never fixed them, and then I lost because of it.
Yeah, you moved one of the bishops away from the other, and then suddenly their rook could like move, right?
Yeah.
And then it got like tough. So, yeah, you have to fix like your king, even if it costs you one of your c pawns, even if the position's about equal. You fix your king, and then you start pressing to try and win a position that'll be sort of equal-ish, but you know you've improved your king a little bit, and you can play.
Yeah. I completely agree.
I don't know if you thought you had like a big advantage or anything like that, but the advantage was always like pretty minimal to equal-ish, right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like you just want to squeeze. I mean, you always owe it to yourself to squeeze and to pressure the opponent.
No, I mean, yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. Okay.
I just
Cool.
got too fancy, especially with where the relative clocks were.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You were playing with like 30 seconds against 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Which makes it much harder to try and squeeze somebody because like you're more likely to blunder something than them.
For sure.
But yeah. Okay. Falk, I would say when your opponent plays f4 on move 21, I mean, obviously, you know, your position got hurt pretty badly by e5 because white had a bishop on that diagonal. Then that bishop's always going to be good. d5 is always going to be weak. The d file is always going to be a problem. But in a situation where your opponent plays f4, I think, generally speaking, you'll have better defensive chances if you open the position than if you let them lock the position and then pawn roller you like in the game. In general, if you trade on f4 so that you can also attack their e-pawn with rooks on the e-file, you can just plop your queen on e5 or your knight on e5. I think that's going to give you somewhat better defensive chances. Like, your position's bad, but maybe not lost.
Okay.
It's close to lost. I mean, the bishop's better than your knight in the open position. And, I mean, we could rack up some factors in white's favor, but it's still borderline, you know. So, I would say in general, trade so it's open, and then put your knight on e5 or c5. And
I have like one question, like on move 12. It's wait, not 12, but right after. It's on move 14 when I take his knight. Is it like, let's say I like after he takes back with the queen and I go like knight d4 here. Is this like a better version if we like if you
played knight d4 instead of bishop e7?
Yeah.
White should probably play queen d3 in response. Just covering the pawn on c2, right? And now the plan for white is to play, you know, c3 and rook to d1, and it's, I would say, if you were playing against me, I would say it's pretty hoffnungslos. I would expect to win this position as white against any human in the world.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems like at some point your opponent traded their knight for your dark squared bishop, right? And that breathes some hope into your game, right? That was really a terrible choice for them. Also, I mean, instead of doing that, they could be developing their rooks, right? Rook d1, rook d2, double rooks. Like, I don't know what you're going to do. Like, you're playing knight a5, maybe you'll take on b3, but it doesn't help you at all. It just isolates the e7 bishop. So, I mean, up to that point, there was no real advice for black. But once white gives you that piece and then plays f4, I think you can trade it and then transfer your knight towards e5 or something and have some decent chances. And then, yeah, when your opponent played f5, then it again feels like there's just kind of going to be a storm coming down eventually.
So instead of e5 like early on, I was just supposed to play like h6 or what, or castle, or
Castles. You don't need to spend a tempo on h6 probably. Okay, here we go. So just castles is fine. Knight c6 looks okay. Queen a5 check is okay. Queen b6 is probably playable.
Okay, so everything else.
There's like a list of
But,
moves that are
fine.
okay, right? It's not absolutely every move. Like
So
knight d7, bishop takes e6 might not be good.
is there like in general a way to say when I am supposed to play e5 in the Sicilian and when I'm not supposed to play it?
Yeah, you should not play e5 against bishop c4.
Okay.
And rarely play it against bishop g5.
Okay.
And if white had played instead of these moves, here, I'll give you a position. d4 takes, knight f6, knight c3, a6. Give you like a knight off position. Let's say instead of playing bishop c4, bishop g5, white plays a move like bishop e3 or bishop d3. Right? Basically, now you can play e5 if you want to, but you can also play e6. There's almost no line where you have to play e5.
Okay.
Like e6 is always like a pretty reasonable Sicilian structure that you can play.
Oh, that's good to know. Like the only line I really knew was like with e7, e5. Like when he has like the knights out and he goes to like e3 with the bishop, like the one you have on board. It's like the only position I really like. I always go for the same structure, I guess, but I guess it's not ideal.
Yeah,
It's good
so
to know.
e5, I mean, it gains space in the center at the cost of weakening d5. So if white has played bishop c4, bishop g5, which are like the very best moves to fight for d5 square, and then you just play e5 anyway, like you're not in position to ever like regain that square.
Okay.
But if white plays a move like bishop e3, bishop e2, bishop d3, f4, g3, rook g1, a4, any of those moves, you're allowed to play e5 if you want to.
It makes sense.
But realize that basically in all those lines, you're like one tempo away from losing control of d5 and having like a, not so good position. Like the kind of position that you can just have nothing to do for like 40 moves. So if you play those e5 lines, you have to make sure that you then play moves fairly precisely to keep control over d5.
So maybe it's easier to just go with e6 and...
Maybe a little bit easier, but I think it's useful to know both structures, e6 and e5. I think in general you can play the Sicilian better if you do have some understanding of both structures. But like for example, I'll show you a position. Bishop e3, e5, knight f3. You probably play knight b3 because that's like the main line. If you're white.
Yeah, that's what I most encounter.
But let's say white plays knight f3 in this position. I mean, GMs play all kinds of have played a few different moves in this position. But me personally, there's only one way that I like to play this position as black. And that is to play queen c7 to stop bishop c4. That's the only move that looks right to me here.
Oh, okay.
Right?
And why don't you play like
it may look normal to
b5?
play bishop e7 or something like that, right? I just develop what's wrong with it. It's harmless. But after bishop c4, it doesn't look good to me. I'm not happy about that, right? The bishop came there too easily. You ask why not play b5, and that would be because of a4. Anytime you want to play b5, you have to calculate a4.
Okay.
And sometimes a4 is a problem, and sometimes it's not. But you always calculate it. And it may sound like a lot of work when I say you have to always calculate this move or that move, but actually it becomes less and less work over time because you've calculated it in 500 positions, and at some point it becomes much faster to calculate. So you can just throw it in very quickly. So A4, oh yeah?
Because I play this as white, and I know that, like, in general, there's this idea that you can play an early A4 if they play an early B5. I have never understood
How to calculate
why
it.
this is good for white, because, like, I always castle queenside.
Well, yeah, it doesn't go with
If I
castling
play
queenside.
that, am I supposed to castle short now?
Yeah, I think.
What's that?
Am I supposed to castle short?
If you
after
play A4, yeah. And
then
once
what
you've
if-
castled queenside, black doesn't have to calculate A4 anymore. They can play B5
Yeah.
without calculating A4.
But is the idea of A4, B5, knight D5 then? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Or
And this always needs to be calculated because sometimes black can take your E-pawn, sometimes they can just trade your knight. But here, you know, if they take the pawn, you have, whoops, grabbed the wrong one, bishop B6. So that's the end.
Wow.
And if knight D5, queen D5,
Yeah, no, this just looks good.
so that's why in this position, black can't play B5, Falk.
Oh,
Okay.
hey, look at that. It's a rook.
Because A4, B4, knight D5, it's not that good for black. The best move here for black would be knight D7 to not let you into B6, right?
Bishop
And then
B6 is a
and then what move can
painful
white
move to
play?
allow.
What move can we play here?
Yeah.
Trying to find the. Oh, is it bishop B5?
I'm looking at bishop G5.
Bishop B5.
Bishop G5, bishop E7.
It
doesn't
just go
seem-
to the door. I'm back in a second.
Yeah. Doesn't seem that devastating.
Okay, that doesn't do too much.
Oh, for some, I
mean-
didn't see that A pawn was there for white.
I mean, there is just
That's
a
why I said
massive.
B5.
I mean,
Sorry.
doesn't white just get a massive spatial advantage with that though? With that whole bishop G5 and then bishop, like E7, and then you're kind of just like take over the space.
I mean, you moved your bishop a second time, and then you probably end up trading it on F6, so it's not like super impressive to me.
Okay.
It's not increasing your space advantage. The bishop, the space is sort of determined by the pawn structure, right? Bishop G5 doesn't change the pawn structure.
A5.
A5 looks pretty cool. So one thing you can do in positions like this as white sometimes is just take the pawn on B4.
Oh.
I don't know why that wasn't the first thing.
Right? But the
This
move
is
that I like
backwards.
here, the move that I like here is
Backwards
bishop
knights.
C4. Just putting the bishop on the correct diagonal there, right? Really like smoothly. Like our opponent spent time moving the B pawn twice. It's basically just a liability now.
Yeah, they got a castle.
We got the knight to D5 quickly, bishop to C4 in one move. And everything's good. I mean, we'd have to calculate knight takes E4 here and make sure it doesn't work for black, but I doubt it will.
Oh,
So
what? Knight takes E4.
Then bishop G5. Check.
No,
Right?
I mean not check, but
No, that's
the
not
queen.
Good. No, it's the queen. Queen check.
Yeah. But
That's
yeah,
not
also
good.
hangs the bishop.
Not hangs it. Oh, I guess it does hang. Yeah. Never mind. That's no good. Hmm.
Ooh, yeah. Do we just lose a pawn?
You use castle.
Well, I mean, you still have B5 with your knight if you want it.
Yeah. But now you're giving away the center.
yeah, this
Well-
pawn's
Oh,
still hanging.
castle. Also, Oh, you can't. You also can't. You still can't.
Yeah.
I
think it may just
suggest knight g5.
I think it may just be that you castle, because basically if white plays knight f6, you have knight g5.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they do next. If white plays bishop e7, you trade it and then play queen d5, and again they lose. So it may just be that you castle and there's nothing white can really do. But yeah. A5 is even better. Somebody in chat is saying winning an exchange. Okay.
A5 winning an exchange.
It's not clear exactly why it wins an exchange, but it's certainly a fine move. I mean, B4 is dead for sure. You've got the B6 outpost. White can do whatever they want.
I think he's seeing.
I need a line there.
I think he thinks knight b6, knight b6.
He's going to play knight b6, trade the knight,
Oh,
bishop in, and then
bishop
here.
b6. No, yeah, no, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Knight b6, knight takes, bishop takes, queen moves.
Bishop b6.
I mean, it's black's move. We'll play a move for black here, like bishop here.
Yeah. Bishop
Knight,
b6.
Knight b6. I mean, I don't think we're going to lose an exchange. I don't know that we'll ever have a good position.
Exchange, I don't see that. No.
Yeah. Bishop b6 instead. Whoops.
Oh, don't do that.
Oh, I just lost the whole thing, but it's fine.
Oh, back to the start.
Oh, wait, never mind. I thought that hung a queen, but I like how David's just playing the game from memory. Like he does.
I always play knight
no
b3,
moves.
but it doesn't matter.
Whole thing.
Bishop b6. Oh, going for knight c7, and if takes, takes.
Yeah, but they don't have to take it.
That's vicious.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't take it, they have to move the queen and then knight c7.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
And if
Yeah,
they do
so-
take it, then you just still threaten knight c7. There's not really much to do about it. Right? Takes here is still not going to be playable.
Well, now you have 2 pawns for the exchange as black, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's why I'm not sure that it's not better to just
Maybe
castle
get
as
one
white.
pawn in the end.
That's why I'm not sure it's not better for white to just castle, because I really don't know what move black wants to play in a position like that. We played this. Here, bishop c4, knight e4. Like, I'm really not sure what black wants to do after white castles. If knight f6, knight g5 loses, which it looks like it does, if bishop e7, knight takes e7 loses, you know, it's tough to say.
Can you do something sad like h6?
Right, and then if they play h6, you know, hooray, they spent a move on that. Now you could go a5, bishop b6, or knight b4.
Yeah.
Like, you could now do some other move you want to do. So, yeah.
Hey, Dave, did you see that they have there's new endgame studies in chess, the endgame feature in chess.com they just introduced?
No?
Yeah.
Where is it? Learn?
Chess.com/endgames.
Literally just go to puzzles and then endgames. Straight up.
It has some,
Is
I'll
it-
say, design issues, let's call them.
Yeah.
But
Wait, where's endgames?
just go to
At the bottom. It's right there.
chess.com/endgames.
It's right there at the bottom. You were on it in that menu under puzzles.
Puzzles. Endgames. Endgame training.
Oh, here we go. Endgames. Quickly improve your endgame skills.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Let me see, like, a rook endgame. Winning rook endgames.
The problem playing
Solve
against the
5
computer is that
positions.
it doesn't know how to like try hard.
Solve 5 positions as quickly.
Stockfish
as I
5.
can.
Well,
I
no,
want to prop first stream.
it doesn't know how to. It plays like the longest from mate move instead of like the trickiest move, basically. But, yeah, but still good enough.
Yeah. So how is this different than drills?
Practical endgames, I think, is the maybe idea. I don't know. One of them. So I was doing a different one than you're doing, and it gave
Why is
me
my time
like-
going? It's the opponent's move.
No, it's like
Because
how
they're
long.
trying to see how many you can get done in like a certain amount.
I know, but they were like running the time when it was the opponent's. Now I have to win the king and rook to like prove this.
Yep.
Wow.
Is what it needs. It's a good first try, I think.
Mm-hmm. Jeez.
Also, they have this thing, like, because I was wanting to practice these drawn rook endgames, and they give you 5 of them that you have to make a draw in. But if I get the third one wrong, I can't just try the third one again. I have to go back to the first one.
Really?
Yeah. Like, there's a way to do it in practice mode, but that's kind of like, it has an eval bar, and I don't want to see the eval bar.
Yeah.
So, anyways. Doesn't matter. I'm happy they have this. Like, I think a future version will be very helpful. And also, if they can teach a computer how to actually like try and end games, that'd be cool.
See, it's just like thinking here.
Maximum. It says it's rated 3,200, so
Tough
it should
position.
be pretty good.
Well, you're gonna get really good at winning king and rook against king if every one of these you have to play out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, I just realized the California Unicorns is you.
Yeah.
I remember like the other week when you were trying to message me to stop playing against Drew. And I'm like, California Unicorns. I'm like, go away. I'm trying to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Scott hit me up, but I was like, I'm too into this game already. Whatever. Like on Discord, like everybody's like, yeah, don't play this game, don't do it.
Yeah, I got that message too late. And then I was like, yeah.
It's like, we could do a draw, but whatever. It was rated. And your rating is higher than mine, so I would actually gain a point and you would lose a point, I think, at that point.
That's true. I think I had a totally winning position as well. Not that I can't lose that, as we can see. But...
Oh yeah, Seth. If you want, check out check out my little. It's not like a winning tactic, but it was almost winning, and then it was winning enough that my opponent decided that they just resigned.
Oh, you had one of those.
It was like there was a move to get out of it, and then they just resigned anyways.
Terrible. Like, why even play?
Why even play, right?
Oh, I hate resigning so much.
It was
I
pretty
love when
funny.
my opponent resigns. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if anyone's in chat, like, go for it against me.
Yeah, but I don't want
Permission to resign.
Ever be a thing. I don't want to ever be a thing where someone gets mad at me, like, for not resigning. Like, oh, it's just sports. Like, what other sport is it like sportsmanly to quit? It's stupid.
All the good
saw
ones.
I don't want to.
I honestly think that's missing from most sports. Like, they should just be allowed to resign.
Little League, the mercy rule.
Mercy
Yeah.
rule. It is like mercy rule. That's true. I used to hate mercy rule too because, not because like I wanted to just like pound the other team. But like there were I've been on both sides of the mercy rule in youth baseball, and I remember like we were playing like a game and we were down like 10 runs, and like the other team just clips 10 runs. Like, okay, it was a bad game. We had like a bad inning. A pitcher couldn't throw strikes, and like they were better than us, but they weren't like outrageously like we couldn't even play on the same field better than us. But we got mercy ruled, and we're like but this is our game for the day, and we want to keep playing baseball. It's like, we know we're not going to win, but we want to keep playing.
Yeah. David, I don't know if you saw, but in the last Dojo Talks, Jesse talked about how you back in the day led the crusade against draw offers.
Mm-hmm.
And how there was like a culture clash of, especially people from maybe other countries or from a little earlier in the chess days, where it's like the 10-move draw, the quick prearrange, or even just like draw in general.
Yeah.
Has that gotten better, do you think? Do you think nowadays in chess there's less draw offers?
I don't know.
Like the super duper GMs who are whatever.
I haven't.
Kind of curious.
I haven't been around in like normal person OTB, right? So the only things that I've really seen are those super GM tournaments.
That's fair.
But I haven't played in tournaments for like 6 years, pretty much.
I guess,
What,
like,
the-
even,
like, the
so, like,
results of
there was, like, a decade plus where you were playing high-level OTB.
Mhm.
Like, did you, in that time, see any shift, or not really?
Minimal?
Okay.
Minimal,
Interesting.
I think.
Yeah. I don't like draw offers either, unless it's like...
I do wonder if online chess will, for, like, the next young kid generation, make it less draw offers, because they're used to just playing till mate online. Or, like, very obvious about mate online.
Right.
People offer draws online.
I offered a draw in one of my last classicals,
Don't
David's
do it.
gonna...
and it was accepted. So.
Why? Why not just play? Oh, yeah, I remember
Because
that
it's
position.
a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, like
Whatever. Like it's
the
a draw.
deadest. Yeah, I think only like, I get it. I get that. I accept that it's there for like the deadest of dead draws. You know, rook versus rook, or like opposite color bishops and the pawns are fixed or something. But otherwise, like you just shouldn't be draw offers. It's like if you want to draw, make a draw on the board. There's ways to do it.
I'm not in favor of +3 for a win and +1 for a draw. No.
I agree.
That's not a solution I am for. I think that draws are a very natural part of chess, and I'm okay with that. I think that when the draw percentage is at like 75-80% in super GM tournaments, it does hurt the interest level, and I think that there are things you can do about it, but I wouldn't like change... I wouldn't change the scoring system to basically like reward people who like take risks by playing dubious moves and taking points away from people who just play correctly or something. I don't see any point in doing that.
I think the thing that actually I've seen kind of work in terms of the non-draw stuff is instead of tournaments with like 12 super GMs who are 2750 and above, like have a wider rating range in the tournament. One,
Yeah.
it keeps it fresh for viewers, but also like those guys who want to qualify for candidates and, you know, make the money by being top 15, they're going to need a push for wins against people who are like 2670.
Yep. That's
That
one
was-
good way of doing it, for sure.
That's what they did at Vaikanze. It was like, you better beat
Aryan Tari.
Arientara. Yeah, or I was trying to think of the German guy who subbed for Dubov. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's like you better beat him when you got, especially if
But
you
then
get
the
the right
converse is like, so then someone like Esipenko can beat Magnus and Perugia can gain a bunch of rating and like the young people can actually prove themselves
Yep.
and then get into that upper echelon of GM instead of the top 15 guys just passing back and forth the same 10 ELO points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one idea that makes it more interesting for sure. I mean, my main suggestion for dramatically dropping the draw rate in those tournaments is just to play Fischer random. And to me, that's still chess, but without 20 moves memorized by an engine. If the players have to play a 60 move game instead of like a 20 move game, then they'll make more mistakes and there will be more decisive results. So that's
I
like
think
my
it would
main
also
solution.
completely change the whole scope of who's at the top because those guys, a lot of what they do is study all year, and work with their computers so that they can know, really deeply. Like MVL might not be a top 10 player in the world anymore if he's like, suddenly they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're playing, 960. Oh, I just know this one opening that I play really, 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 really well.
Yeah. But I would say, like, it wouldn't be a seismic shift.
No?
Like, the people who are at the top and are spending all that time studying openings, they're studying those openings because their other skills are good enough that they belong at the top, and then they have to do that to be at the top. It's not like you can take somebody who doesn't have top-notch, like, skills and just memorize a bunch of moves and they'll be 2,800. Like MVL, who you mentioned as only knowing how to play like the Nightdwarf or something, right? But like MVL is probably one of the like top, like, I don't know, probably like top 5 like calculators as far as just like raw, just like churning through moves like a computer. So, and that's, like on his own. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, then I take that back. Sorry, MVL.
No, it's fine, and he is actually out of the top 10 just in classical chess right now after a bad candidates.
And yeah,
but I think like everybody who's up there is really good in like all kinds of skills.
He's lost like 30 elo in the Poison Pawn Nightdwarf in the last 3 months.
Really putting the poison in Poison Pawn.
Yeah.
But
I wish someone would ask him just like, because they all do all these interviews, like, why?
Well, I wonder if he thought like he played it at. Here's my very wrong, I'm sure, harebrained theory is like he played it at Vicon Say and it didn't go well, and some were like, nah, he's playing the Poison Pawn because everyone knows he's a Nightdwarf player, and so he's gonna play the Nightdwarf at the candidates, but maybe he's not gonna go for that line, so he's gonna throw it out at Vicon Say, right? And so they won't prepare. And then I think he like he's like, now because he knows he's playing Fabi with black round 1, he's like, now Fabi is gonna prepare a million lines against the Poison Pawn, and I'm not, or not against the Poison Pawn, against like my other top variation, because they were like, oh well, he's off the Poison Pawn, and then I'm gonna hit him with the Poison Pawn, and then Fabi had like the greatest computer prep ever.
Yeah, but his preparation was devastating.
No, I'm sure that didn't actually happen, but in my mind, that's how I was.
That's funny.
And but like the fact that he was able, even like everyone's like, oh, he had a draw, but like the fact that he was able to like survive that, like Fabi found a line where he knew he could sack a knight and 3 pawns, and that MVL could like still defend that to a almost a draw is like you were saying earlier, like the calculation.
I think what a lot of people argue though is that like it was like kind of like it was the time control. It was actually literally the time was the reason that MVL lost that game, was because he had to spend so much time to find that first move after the novelty that like he like lost like half an hour. It's like, well, like I can't keep this fortress anymore. You know?
Well, he has like 2 hours to find like the incredibly difficult moves and incredibly complicated position that Fabi already knows. So Fabi just gets to play them. And
Oh no, I'm not trying to like put any judgment on it. I'm just saying like that was like so that's kind of how that game felt like to me. Like it was like, oh, you would have been able to find maybe better moves in this end game, but you just like there was just a difference in time control. Because even Fabi was messing it up, but not as much as MVL was messing it up. Like, because they're saying, now it's winning, now it's not winning, now it's winning, now it's not, like, it just kept on going back and forth. But overall.
Yeah. I mean, I heard Hess was saying like, this is the danger of playing the same opening every time. It's like, you get hit with a prep like this, and even if you play an incredible game to try to stave it off, you just spent, you spent 2 hours trying to figure out the first 20 moves, and your opponent already knows them.
This is how I'm gonna prep for Falk if we ever play in the Dojo Classical. Watch out.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get your seconds.
You guys almost played this round.
Oh, we did. Oh, nice.
You almost got paired with each other for round 3.
We just have to have the same result again. And then, we'll track together eventually.
Yeah,
I
true.
haven't
So
played
arrange a quick draw.
I haven't. There's a lot of new people in the dojo. It's kind of cool because I definitely been getting paired with a lot of people I'd never met or talked with before. But then I see him in chat later, and it's pretty cool.
I do enjoy doing opening prep for the classicals because you know the opponent ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like, let's not get carried away here, but just knowing what about they're gonna play and oh yeah, I do like playing that line against it, but what do I do here and there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of addictive.
Yeah, it's a relaxed schedule. There's a lot of time for whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to hunt for their real account on Lichess, and then look at that.
Oh, that's the real digging.
Yeah.
I have not done that for anyone yet.
Oh yeah, sometimes you log in and there's only 10 games on chess.com, and you're like, well, I don't know about that. And then you're like, oh.
How did you figure out did they have the same Lee Chess name or?
Yeah, or it's similar to either their Discord or their Twitter. I'm not gonna tell you all my secrets.
Oh.
You guys are on a team.
What are you talking about?
No, but chat's here too.
Chat's
Oh,
here
that's
too. We can't
That's
tell
true.
chat anything.
That's true.
Dang. Chat is listening.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like for a little while they were baiting me. They were trying to get me to, they wanted to play Queen's Gambit so I could play Tarash. And then once they told them I played the Tarash and hate it.
All right, folks, it's about time to shut it down for the night.
Good night. Thank you for the lesson.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Every
thanks.
time. Schedule wise, I think tomorrow we've got we'll have Charlie on for an hour to play his 2 games per day. As he hunts for 1400, I'll watch and comment. And then we've got game 45s at 11 a.m. and 12:30. And it'll just be dropping. I'll make a little Google form. You just say which game you want to play. And I'll pair you against somebody closest to you in rating. And that'll be it. Just 1 or 2 games at a different time control than we normally play. So just something else to try.
Yeah, 45 seconds. No. Oh, game 45s, I guess.
Yeah, it's 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Time
I thought the
controls.
S, I thought seconds, but he meant 45 as in plural.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be chess games. Yep. 11 a.m. Pacific and 12:30 Pacific. Anyway, we'll figure it out tomorrow. Good night, everybody, and good day to those of you who aren't going to bed.
Night.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks.
Have a good day, Falk.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, and I guess I should send a raid somewhere since we're on here. Let's see what's going on. Anything that sounds good. No. Nah, let's do that again. See you all tomorrow. Be well.
3. Oh man, he's taking the plunge. I love to see that. What's up, Mr. Keem? Looking forward to Mr. Keem in the cams. I think he's going to make an impact there. Mr. Keem, to Brad. Shout out to those tier 3s in a row. Aguirre and Luca Tramontosi. I will get those songs up right now. Chess Dojo Live, welcome with the raid. So much going on. Welcome, everybody. Luca Tramontosi. Let me get that song. As well as Aguirre.